Good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the 2026 operating budget. We have several days, exciting days lined up, talking about numbers and successes and everything here. So there's plenty on the agenda for today. So we're going to get started here with, well, introduce, which one do I introduce first? The mayor's cabinet. Or Deputy Finance Director Mike Wheeler.
So thank you. As we start the first day of hearings, we are going to start off with the mayor's office, and on behalf of them, Britt Zeringer, the chief of staff, will be presenting. On the actual budget book document, their budget line item numbers begin on page 60.
Page 60?
Page 60 of that book. Mm-hmm. And of the goals and objectives document that we provided today, they begin on page 3, beginning with the mayor's letter that was presented last week at the overview.
Okay. Welcome, Brittany.
Those numbers coincide with the notebook as well?
Yeah, that's what.
Pages?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Page 60.
Yes. So the numbers should coincide at this point.
Good afternoon, President Somerville, Chair Lombardo, council leadership, and council members. For the record, my name is Brittany Grimes Zeringer, and I'm Chief of Staff for Mayor Malik in the City of Akron, and I am pleased to open up the 2026 budget hearings. In preparing this year's budget, the mayor focused on maintaining strong operational support while identifying efficiencies and reducing administrative costs and making investments wherever possible. Last week, you heard the mayor provide an overview of what he hopes to accomplish with this year's budget overall and where we are placing our priorities. Over the next 3 days, you are going to hear from every single city department. Each one will highlight their accomplishments from last year and their goals for 2026. These goals and accomplishments have come from this administration and the mayor's overarching vision for Together for Akron. As we continue to prioritize public safety, we are also equally committed to the importance of continuing need for economic development efforts in the city of Akron, meaning downtown, business districts, and our neighborhoods. We are also inspired by community interest in housing initiatives that align with our Living Together pillar. These priorities are also reflected across this year's budget. The Mayor's Office administration for the City of Akron provides central leadership, coordination, and operational support that enables the mayor to carry out the city's priorities and day-to-day governance. This team works across all city departments. I want to highlight the Mayor's Office staff's valiant efforts in securing the 4th All-America City win. We've also put a lot of focus on broad ecosystem work like the Polymer Industry Cluster, the Downtown Akron Development Corporation, Youth Success Summit, and Right to Counsel, and the Unified Early Learning System. Again, you will hear more about each of these initiatives as their departments come forward to present this week. The mayor and I work directly alongside cabinet members, strategists, and the following dedicated administrative staff: Assistant to the Mayor for Community Relations, Lauren Marsh; Executive Assistant and Scheduler, Lori Hoffman; Administrative Assistant, Teresa Lloyd; and Secretary to the Mayor, Shannon Thompson. We could not do what we do without these individuals and their professionalism and dedication to serving our office and the great citizens of Akron. In keeping with the mayor's theme of fiscal responsibility, the mayor's office did reduce operating expenses and eliminated one position. We secured in-kind and grant funding to support our initiatives and made modest investments to support public engagement. We did not ask other departments to do things that we were not willing to do in our office. In closing, this budget reflects the mayor's commitment to responsible management, transparency, and maximizing taxpayer dollars. With our team, supporting the nearly 200,000 residents in Akron, we have prioritized efficiency, strategic coordination, and delivering results for Akron residents. I will now call up several staff that fill out the programmatic side of the mayor's office. Each an expert in their field will detail the accomplishments and goals, demonstrating the ways they are making long-lasting and sustainable impact for Akron now and Akron tomorrow. First, we have Steph Marsh, Director of Communications. Following her in turn, and they can come up as soon as their time is ready, would be Esther Thomas, Director of Opportunity and Engagement, and Carla Davis, Public Engagement Consultant Strategist. Casey Shevlin, Director of Sustainability and Resiliency. Danico Buckley-Knight, Youth Opportunity Strategist. Emily Berth Osborne, Policy and Grant Strategist. Brittany Stewart is our GAR-funded Data and Transparency Strategist Consultant. And finally, Rochelle Wardell, Education and Health Strategist. So now we'll turn it over to Steph.
Thanks, Chief. Hi, council members. Excited to be here with you today, talk a little bit about communications. So my team is pretty small. It's just the three of us. So I'm Director of Communications. We have a digital media manager, Alexis King, and a digital media assistant, Patricia Porter. So it's the three of us that are really responsible for all of the communications that you see coming out of the mayor's office. So that's any of our social media pages, any videos that are being created and produced, all of the press relations, so press releases and interviews being given, all of that comes through our office. So we're a small team, but we're handling a lot of things day to day. Go ahead. Oh. So I won't read through all of this, but just a couple of accomplishments. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo. We met or exceeded our growth goals for last year for all of our social media channels. And our goal is never like what an influencer would be to get a ton of followers just so we can sell ads or something. The point is so that our residents are seeing the information that's available to them. So all of the different programs, the initiatives, the opportunities that are available, as well as emergency notifications and things like that. So having more followers means that more people are getting eyes on our content. Just a couple other things on here. We successfully supported the Akron Bicentennial Commission in communicating all of the wonderful bicentennial events that Mark Greer, Dave Lieberth, and their whole teams were responsible for last year. We helped the team secure the win for the All-America City, as Chief of Staff have mentioned. We tried to introduce some creative communications efforts last year. Again, one of the big goals is to reach people that we're not currently reaching, and so trying some new things, one of which last year was the City Podcast. You may have seen that. If you haven't, check it out. It's worth a listen. And then for going into 2026, I'm gonna flip that over. So some of our goals for this year, we're gonna finalize the brand guidelines. So obviously last year we introduced a new city logo that was done after a year of engagement with city residents. So we're gonna have a full brand guideline that is gonna be developed. We're almost done. I'm hoping we'll have it by the end of March. If not, maybe it'll be in early April. Working on city websites, that's going to be refreshed this year, and bringing that up into compliance guidelines for ADA accessibility. Really consistent messaging across platforms, utilizing all of the networks that are available to us is going to be high on the priority list, and then maintaining strong relationships with our local regional media partners, exploring more opportunities for some creative storytelling to help get some more info out there to our residents so they know what's available to them, and they know what we're doing here day to day at the city. So those are some big ones for us. I don't know if we want to do questions. All right, thank you.
I didn't ask, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure. Do we want to ask questions as they go or wait until the end?
We can do
That's fine. That's fine.
Either
after
way.
each presentation.
Yeah.
You have a question?
I don't have a question necessarily, but I love how you incorporated the logo into all these different documents, the bright colors. And I know one of the things we asked when we first got this, we were asking how much it was going to cost. Do you know roughly how much you've spent thus far? Because I think it's amazing how you've incorporated it.
Yeah, so we spent $50,000 last year on the logo, and that will include the brand guidelines that are come out here pretty soon. We did not do a big push to try and like put it on all of the trash cans or something right away. So all of that's happening like as things wear out. So when you're ready to order new business cards, when we're ready for new letterheads, we'll just start using the new logo. So that's why you're still seeing the rubber worker is still out and about, because we didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on it right away. So I think we spent like $200 on stickers when we first did it so that we could pass those out at the bicentennial closing ceremony.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I love the colors.
Thanks.
Stephanie, I have a question
Yeah.
for you. So that's great. We're utilizing all the networks, Facebook on. But, and I think that works for, well, I'm not even going to mention the age group on down, right? So we'll just talk about that particular age group and then on up. Like, what methods do we, utilize? Is it still the newspaper maybe, or for communication?
Yeah, so so we utilize
Radio.
social media because it's free, right? So like that, when we're talking about the budget, it's helpful to use anything that we can. We do also have an email newsletter that goes out weekly. I've found a lot of people that aren't on social media are receiving that newsletter, so it helps give them, we kind of break down anything that we're putting out, press releases or big events, upcoming things, we try and keep in that newsletter. So that has been helpful, I think, to reach some people. We also have a very small printing budget in this year's budget in particular, because we'd love to do a little bit more actual like physical collateral that we could take, even if it's like giving you guys some stuff to take to your ward meetings to pass out for upcoming opportunities and things like that. Recognizing that not everybody utilizes social media.
Right.
So I think that's also where the important, like the relationships with media come into play. If I can have Derek help me share something
Right.
in the Beacon, people are going to read the paper even if they're not looking at social media.
Radio.
Hopefully, right? And radio and our TV friends up in Cleveland. And
Well, that's
all
good
So,
that you
yeah.
recognize that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Fusco, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I see a service contract in here for $83,000 in '26 and one for $277,000 in '25. Just curious what that represents.
Which page are you on?
I'm on page 66. This is under the mayor's office grants, I think. Yeah, we expended 277, or no, I'm sorry, that was budgeted in '25, budgeted 277, and we spent 94,000 in '25, and then we're budgeting 83, and just curious what that represents.
So these are the grants. So this included the public engagement strategist and the data analyst for the mayor's office. So all that is remaining this year is the data analyst contract.
Okay.
The public engagement strategist is being funded not out of the grants fund this year for 6 months.
Okay, so so this was the grant funding from
Correct.
those groups out there. So
GA.
what are the two? One's going to be for 6 months, and the other one was just not brought back? Is that what happened?
So the data transparency strategist was funded for 1 year by GAR Foundation,
Okay.
but we did not hire that, we did not find someone until October of last year.
Okay.
So that person, we're using those grant funds. And then the Akron Community Foundation funded for for a public engagement strategist, and that's Carla Davis, who is here. And so when that contract expired in January, we still had a lot of work to do with waste management, with the inner belt and police use of force. And so we are keeping Carla on through July just to finish up those things.
Okay, very good, thank you. And you also mentioned the one piece about the, I guess, strategist for statistics, analyze, did you mention that piece?
Data transparency.
Is that what that is, data transparency? So that person's no longer with us?
No.
Yes.
I don't mean to put it that way.
No. That person just started in October
Okay.
of '25, and she is participating via Zoom, so you will hear from her today.
Okay, good. Are we gonna find out like what data she's analyzing, and are we gonna, have you
Yes.
gotten any of that? Just
So
curious.
she was getting, oriented and learning about our system. So she will present today what she's been working on and what she plans to accomplish between now and October when her year contract is up.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. After Councilman Hannah, go ahead, and then Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned a newsletter that was being sent out to the residents. How do the residents in each ward get connected with that newsletter being sent out to their addresses?
Yeah, so it's an email newsletter, so it's not a physical
Email.
newsletter being sent out. So if you actually just go to akronohio.gov, which is just our homepage, there's a couple spots on there actually that you can put your email address in and sign up just right on there. So I'll send that out to everybody too, if you want to share with your constituents so that they can get on there. I do think it's helpful information, so.
Yeah, it's the one that comes every Wednesday or Friday?
Every Friday.
Yep.
Every Friday.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. Chief of Staff, I guess they mentioned that there was one position that was eliminated. Can you talk a little bit about that position and why did you feel the need to remove that position?
Right, so we had another assistant to the mayor that was Isaiah Young. When he left, we asked the other assistant to the mayor, Lauren Marsh, to basically assume a lot of his community relations duties. And so therefore, I don't have like a direct assistant working with me. We just felt like we could work with the staff that we had to still accomplish the goals that we have for our office. And so, in looking at the budget and wanting to make sure that we were also being fiscally responsible, we felt that that was a position that we could eliminate. So no person was eliminated, it was already vacant, and we just took it out of the budget.
Thank you.
Next, we have Esther Thomas, who is Director of Opportunity Engagement, and Carla Davis, who is our Public Engagement Consultant.
Greetings and salutations, Madam President, Chair, members of City Council. My name is Esther Thomas. I have the privilege of being the liaison to City Council. In addition, Director of the Office of Opportunity and Engagement, which you might say, what is that? Well, back in the day, before certain federal administrations changed, we had an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, but based on federal mandates that changed how we talk about inclusion, how we talk about diversity, we had to reevaluate that and look at it as opportunity and engagement. And so the office is comprised of myself, our wonderful work with our strategist, Carla Davis, who is public engagement strategist, our cultural engagement coordinator, Summer Hall, and contract compliance officer, Brandon Laster. The emphasis is on making sure that we have engagement with our community, as well as our employees. When we look at an opportunity and engagement, this team serves as a partner, both internally for ideas and ideation, to identify resources to many city departments and administration, and we seek to implement thoughtful engagement with the community around city initiatives and projects. Briefly, when we talk about engagement, one of the models that we're looking at now and what we try to do is say, hey, I could say, leading cross-functional teams that leverage this, that, and the other. Or I could say, we are looking at ways to communicate the important work that the city departments do and to be able to communicate that effectively to our public and to hear and address their concerns. We look at ways to inform the city staff, the city council about our projects. Some of that information you see in your information sheets. It's to spark conversation and engagement about important tasks. We consult with our community members, whether that's through surveys and listening. We involve the community and our internal staff through workshops, advisory committees, those types of things. And we collaborate with our communities on community-led projects. Some of our major accomplishments as we look through the year, it really begins to talk about informing, consulting, involving. We launched the Right to Counsel program in collaboration with United Way of Summit County and Community Legal Aid. It's a pilot, and that pilot addresses the disparity between landlords who have 80% come in, 80+% come in with lawyers. less than 10% of tenants come in with lawyers. And what resources can we bring to that conversation through the project in collaboration with the community? Lots of conversations about that. We have reduced some court time because landlords have been very willing to engage in collaboration, engage in negotiation on out dates. You know, instead of a set out, there's an agreed upon move out date. And once we have that early in the process, well, it saves court time, it saves landlord time, landlords can be made whole, and tenants have an opportunity to benefit from counsel as well as get linked with rental assistance. One of our big projects, we now are in the second year of employee resource groups. We have nearly 2,000 employees in the city of Akron. Our employee resource groups have engaged with over 1,000 engagements, whether that's celebrating Black History Month, Women's History Month, whether it's acknowledging and celebrating Pride. It gives our employees an opportunity to be engaged. Studies have shown when someone has a good friend at work, their productivity goes up, their longevity goes up. And so our employee resource groups gives us an opportunity to support the City of Akron employees who do the work. That's our veterans employee groups, who they're called the Verge, V-E-R-G, I kind of like it, the Women's Network, the Pride Initiative, and the Diversity Caucus. We are looking for other opportunities to engage our employees so that they want to work here, they want to come here, and they want to stay here. And any time and chance we get an opportunity to praise and encourage and uplift employees of the City of Akron, we certainly try to do that. One of my team members, Brandon Laster, he was initially the diversity and procurement compliance officer. But based on the federal guidelines of, you know, we can't have that, he is now the compliance officer, contractual contract officer for the City of Akron. Through that, he has been networking with the business community, our contractor community. But since we're under federal mandate to remove race and gender as contractual areas in the City of Akron contracting, we've had to reimagine the small business enterprise so that we can retain local inclusion and set goals so that when people are doing business with the City of Akron, they are going to engage with our small business, our local businesses. There's a series of all the documents, contracting and bids that we've gone through to get that together. Other accomplishments, when we talk about engagement and actually speaking with the community, not at the community, we have community conversations, those community connections where we've hosted at least 8 events or co-joined with other events to provide information to residents on an everyday kind of basis. This is some of the work that our cultural engagement coordinator, Summer Hall, is doing, and to great reception. Our community wash days. When I say that tons of laundry have been washed through the business, support of the business community, the laundromats, we are imparting information there about other programs, but also helping the dignity of some of our neediest Akron residents who do not have access to laundry services in their residence. Finally, as I look at that, we've created the Centenarian celebrations, which is if you're 80 to 100 plus years old, you're going to get recognition from the city and as an elder in our community. Last year, we relaunched the Gospel Sundays at Lock 3. It's a beautiful main stage. Moving forward to 26, we are implementing the requirements for the small business enterprise, the SBE model, following the federal requirements. As part of that, launching the business to government B2G software. We've had that software for a while, but now we need to roll it out so that every business, city contractors enroll in that. It's free of charge to them, but it helps us improve our accountability measures and actually provides a central resource for contracting and information. Other 26 goals is to implement the first full year of the Right to Counsel program, pilot program. It was launched in mid-September 2025, and we are actively collecting data. Our partners, particularly Community Legal Aid, have secured a $75,000 grant in order to work with Stout consultants so that we have excellent data and information, and that we can continue to create policies to address the needs of the community. Finally, one of the goals of 26 is to expand and enhance the city of Akron as a welcoming community through collaboration with our neighborhood groups and our immigrant communities to relaunch, maintain Akron as a welcoming community. In conjunction with the Knight Foundation, Dr. Murthy visited here. Some members of council were a part of that visit, but when we want to address, and it's some of the work that Councilman Fusco has been very ardent and adamant about, is that we need to roll this out. We need to continue to actively cultivate Akron as a welcoming community, and to provide resources to community groups so that they are able to connect with their community, speak to people, be welcoming and open with their neighbors. And so our public engagement strategist, Carla Davis, is going to tell you about some of the other programs that we have looked at and engaged our public with, and it remains a privilege to do this work.
Any questions for Esther?
I do.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you for the presentation. So one of the things you mentioned was the centenarian, the gift. What does that look like?
Okay, great. Thank you for asking that. It's a really nice certificate that's framed. We are currently giving a warming blanket. I guess after a certain age it gets chilly, but it's embossed with the City of Akron logo. We received donations in order to provide some of these gifts, as well as the laundry bags when we do community wash days. We've gotten sponsors people come to the community wash days. They're on foot. They're bringing black trash bags. Okay, you put your dirty clothes in there. How are you going to take that home? So we've gotten sponsorships in order to do those types of things.
And that's from 80 to 100, or is that just 100?
Oh, it's if you get to 101, we're not going to turn you down.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
it's, we're celebrating that.
Thank you. You also mentioned right to counsel.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the right to counsel?
Okay. So it's the Right to Counsel pilot. As a national program, it's to really enshrine we don't have this. We have a pilot to provide some assistance to tenants as they face a really impactful legal event. Nationally, there are some organizations who want to make this a law in their communities so that the disparity between landlord and tenant doesn't get when you being evicted, if you don't have money for rent, you probably don't have money for a lawyer. And so this provides assistance for folks that are at least 7 days from eviction. They are at 100% of the poverty level, or they have children, or they're 60 years of age of over and they have a disability. So with the pilot funds, we wanted to look at the neediest folks, which are over 60 and disability, and households that are at 100% of poverty with children. Legal aid provides access to their law services, their legal services. United Way provides counseling as well as some access to rental assistance. And our goal there in this pilot is to address the need that's in our community, make the tenants, reduce the number of set-outs, because that's so damaging, and also to make the landlords whole. And from all reports from municipal court and from our partners is that our landlords are engaging in these conversations.
And so I guess it's like 18 evictions per day. Is that about right, or is that per week?
I do not have
Okay.
that data at the ready, but I'll get that to you.
Thank you. And so with the right to counsel, you mentioned that this is currently a pilot program, but then you also mentioned that there's other municipalities that have a program that's been implemented.
Yes.
Do you see Akron doing something similar, or what's your thoughts around that?
Our goal is to make this a regular part. And there's a couple hurdles. One, we have to figure out how to make the pilot work, attract the funding so that tenants and landlords both have access to counsel. And as this, right now in this pilot program, we're working on how does this work for Akron? What does this look like? So our hope is that we don't just have a pilot, but that we have an ongoing program to address housing for our neediest residents.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah, we just don't want to go into a lot of detail without any.
Okay, and last
Get
question,
through.
please, if you don't mind.
One more.
The groups that we used to have, the MBE and EDGE groups, where are we with those groups, please?
Okay. There's still,
Thank you,
the
Chair.
state of Ohio is still issuing certifications, EDGE, DBE, MWBE. And so if people have earned those certifications, we will accept them in our registration program. So it's not, but because of federal guidelines, our program is small business enterprise. The good thing, if you have one of those designations, EDGE, DBE, MWBE, those are covered by the small business enterprise. Okay? So they're not being left behind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Councilwoman Mobian.
I remember us talking about your position and, the title. And I remember you telling me, I don't care what they call me, I just want to continue to work.
Yes, ma'am.
So I am very glad to hear that you're continuing the work, which is the critical work. And one of the things that you addressed, talking about Akron being a welcoming community, and we pride ourselves on that. And we know that ICE or some group is around. And I'm just wondering, just a little bit, you don't have to go into much detail. As I travel around North Hill, I used to see a lot of folks walking around and that kind of thing. Have we had a whole lot of conversation with those individuals trying to help them figure out? Okay.
Yes, and just briefly, thank you, Chair. Last year, February 2025, we gathered members of the immigrant and refugee community and service providers to that community because they were scared. They were nervous, kids not going to school, no doctor's appointments. And so based on a model that my colleague Danique Buckley Knight used, we said, hey, come to the table. Come to the table, have conversation. Council members were there. And let's hear your concerns. Let's hear what you're worried about. And using that feedback from that community, from that engagement, we can develop policies, practice, procedures. We've continued to meet on a regular basis. And as we looked at our Code Red rollout, we talked to our community partners about how we'll make sure that the languages that are spoken in Akron also get their alerts in that language. And we are in the early stages of planning a community or supporting the community, immigrant refugee community, and their celebrating their positive impact on the city of Akron.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you. Thank you and your team for all that you do. We see it and we feel it in Ward 4. I did have the opportunity to attend the last wash day. It was amazing and so many clothes. So we really want to thank you for that work. Now, on the centenarians, do you keep track of that or do they have to reach out to the city to request?
They have to reach out because, but we do send out a mailing a couple times a year to all the churches. It's highlighted on our comms department does a really good job of putting that out on our socials. And so last year, I don't want to misspeak, but I think we celebrated over 80 folks with a certificate, their family members. And so it's a personal joy when I looked at one of the certificates I had to sign recently, and it was my mother's best friend. They grew up in Birmingham, Alabama together, and they found themselves in Akron, and that she was celebrating her 101st birthday. So they reach out, but we stay active in asking people to let us know about their seniors.
And typically, when they reach out, how long does it take you to get that certificate out?
Well,
Because sometimes they'll reach out at the last minute, and the
yeah,
party's
it's
next
Friday
week.
and something's on Sunday and they
Yeah.
heard about it. So we try to turn that around within a week or so. Sometimes it's longer based on availability or but we definitely try to move that as quickly as possible.
And one last thing, if I heard correctly, Ms. Davis, Carla Davis's job will be over in July? Or the contract will be up in July? Did I hear correctly?
Right.
Does she work with, let me make sure I'm clear. So Carla works with your
Yes.
area as
Yes,
well?
yes.
So who's going to fill that void after July? You just don't know, huh?
So we're going to evaluate. So the initial funding through ACF ended in January. We still had a little bit of work that we felt was important for public engagement, so we extended it. And as we get towards July, we will,
Reevaluate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Esther.
much.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. I'll do this in a New York minute. How about that? Yes. Good afternoon, council members. As the city's public engagement strategist, my work focuses on strengthening transparent, inclusive engagement across all departments with a commitment to ensuring historically underrepresented communities have a meaningful voice in civic processes. In 2025, I helped lead a multi-phase engagement process for the Akron Innerbelt. That included working with 40 groups and more than 400 residents to center healing, reconnection, and community-driven visioning. I supported early engagement for the City Meadows pilot. I coordinated the Use of Force Community Engagement Working Group and 2 rounds of stakeholder interviews and assisted with developing tools that created safe, structured spaces for residents to participate in a sensitive, high-impact policy review. I also contributed to the Work Transfer Station's Community Benefits Agreement process, which has engaged more than 200 people through meetings, outreach, and interviews, and reviewed the city's digital engagement platform to strengthen future efforts at community engagement. In 2026, my priorities include working with the team to build a comprehensive stakeholder database, developing an engagement process grounded in the public participation spectrum, supporting the rollout of the PERF use of force recommendations, attending ward meetings as part of a listening tour, and supporting the governance role of the Akron Innerbelt Advisory Group. So together, these efforts move us toward a more transparent, collaborative, and community-centered Akron. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we will have Casey Shevlin.
Thank you, Finance and Budget Chair Lombardo, members of the committee, Madam President, and broader members of City Council. I'm Casey Shevlin, Director of the Mayor's Office for Sustainability and Resiliency. My office was created for the first time in 2024 under Mayor Malik. The purpose of the office is to help move the city of Akron toward a more sustainable, resilient, just future that supports the well-being of all Akronites. Right now, the office consists of just me while I fill an open position, which I'm working on with HR. As I've explained to portions of this body before, I am hyper aware that sustainability work can often be perceived as a nice-to-have, distantly relevant global problem, not about us. It's my intention, and I've shared this before, that my office is not that at all. That it is instead grounded in addressing challenges and opportunities that affect our people here in Akron. from rising energy costs to public health concerns to economic opportunities and plenty of stuff in between. We can go to the next slide. In 2025, my focus was laying the foundational groundwork for long-term impact of the office while simultaneously delivering near-term solutions that demonstrate the value of sustainability and resiliency now. I'm not going to talk about all of the things listed here, but some examples of that twofold objective include, on the more foundation building side, securing $200,000 from Bloomberg's 25 Cities initiative to conduct a climate action planning process that's underway right now. It will result in Akron's first formal climate action plan. On the more immediate near-term impact side of things, 2025 efforts included work like winning $100,000 from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to plant trees and conduct related engagement activities in East Akron, one of our lower canopy neighborhoods, lots of pavement, lots of industry, warmer than other neighborhoods. Or another example, leveraging $175,000 from the U.S. Conference of Mayors to help launch a mobile grocery store in Akron to serve food desert areas. That grocery store, by the way, operationally is run by a local nonprofit and not the city. Across all of my work, Across all of my work, a major priority for me has been bringing in additive resources from outside the city's budget. Despite challenges at the federal level, I leveraged more than $600,000 in outside funding in 2025 to advance a range of sustainability projects, including, some of the examples I spotlighted moments ago. This way, I am building sustainability and resiliency solutions for Akron without adding pressure to the city's general fund. Looking ahead to 26, we can go forward. I'll continue building on this momentum, advancing many of the initiatives we already have in progress, and securing where I can additional resources to develop new efforts. So thank you for your time to talk about my work even a little bit. Happy to take questions.
Yes, Councilman Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed you skipped over waste transfer station, secured $100,000 in private funding. Is there any reason why you skipped over that? And what is the name of the company that you secured that funding for and you have hired so far?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't touch on many of the things here. Only named probably 3 examples, so wasn't intentionally not mentioning the waste transfer station specifically. But yes, we secured $100,000 through our partnership with Bloomberg's 25 Cities initiative. That helped us to bring on board Community Planning Collaborative. They're an expert consulting firm, very familiar with community benefits and engagement processes around urban development. They're paid directly by Bloomberg Philanthropies through the 25 Cities initiative that we're a member of.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Brief comment here. Just that, glad to see these accomplishments for 25. It's pretty amazing if you look at it from a ROI standpoint. It's costing the city taxpayers $360,000 for your position and another position. However, conversely, by reading this, and I'm not the best whenever it comes to math, but I'm seeing $1,175,000 here total. Is that?
No, I'm sorry. So 600,000 is kind of the comprehensive overall number, the examples of which are listed below.
Regardless, it's 2 to 1. Not bad. But in all these initiatives and the amount of impact that they're going to have down the road, especially we're talking today in the Tree Commission, which I know everybody's big supportive of our efforts. But we're developing a bench for the future, and that's important. So just appreciate all of your efforts on this. Thanks.
Thank you. Great job, Casey. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Garrett.
Thank you. Just going to go back just a second. That New York Minute was amazing, Ms. Carla. I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Carla, for taking the time to bring perf to the community. That was huge in our space. There were so many people that was really engaged and got the information that they needed. I'm very hopeful that we can figure out a way to extend you because you're so needed in that cool space there. So thank you. I just wanted to go back. She did that New York Minute pretty quick.
Very good. You have something?
Next, we will have youth
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Thank you very much for educating me about all of this climate change stuff that we're doing. And it's really amazing, the work that you've done with, what, one person almost? And a committee or whatever, but it's amazing with what's happening. And I'm learning more about tree canopy and all these wonderful things that we're gonna have in our city. So thanks a lot for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councilman Fran Wilson.
Thank you. I know at the end of Pasquale's term, there was a green plan. I think some of it got instituted, but there's still a lot of hanging fruit from that plan. Do we have, or are we developing an overarching updated green or sustainability plan? I don't think I've seen anything in the last couple of years. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that it was the green print. I think there were a couple of iterations of it in 2009 and 2011, so I've reviewed and I'm very familiar with those documents. What I was able to secure funding for was a climate action plan, so that's the plan I'm able to put resources towards and develop. Our consulting team that's working on that is familiar with the green prints as well, so I think that there will be opportunity to perhaps fold in things left over that maybe the city didn't get to into that process.
Thank you. You mentioned the waste management, that piece there. I know that a part of the waste management team, they were looking for a benefits agreement. With the grant funding, is there any way to utilize some of those funds to fill their need in terms of that benefit agreement with perhaps maybe hiring some of them, or how could that, what's your thoughts there?
So the funding is for an expert team to help us because they're bringing expertise to this process and they're bringing capacity that, you know, I'm a one-person operation at the moment that I don't have to the process as well. But that a version of that is our goal. So they've been helping us conduct engagement. I would say we've been doing engagement with the community in a concentrated way since about November or December of last year, although I would note that I have been engaging with the community on this issue since day 3 in this job. But their role is to help us engage the community, surface ideas that we can then use as community-informed terms in our agreement with waste management so that the community has input in the good things that come out of this redevelopment project, right? Shutting down one transfer station, building a new one, that brings something positive to the community. There are specific terms that detail that, and those terms are informed by the community. So that's their entire job, you know, in helping us is to make that process possible.
And to
Thank
just
you.
add on to what Director Shevlin said, those funds from Bloomberg did not come to the city. They're being paid directly to the consultant that's working with us, and the Bloomberg Association does not pay benefits directly to individuals.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Thank you, Casey.
Next, we will have our youth opportunity strategist, Danico Buckley-Knight.
All right, there he is.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this conversation related to my role as a youth opportunity strategist. I wanted to highlight a couple of my major accomplishments from 2025, starting off with the implementation of our Violence Intervention and Prevention Strategic Plan, reaching our goal of reducing the number of violent incidents by 10% in 2025. Also was able to work to secure a Wallace Foundation grant with a goal aimed at advancing opportunities for adolescents in Akron. That grant will be up to $10 million for a 5-year period. Partnering with the Aspen Institute Project Play to endorse the Children's Bill of Rights in Sports, which is aimed at getting at least 63% of Akron youth to participate in 60 minutes of sports or wellness activities by the year 2030. And also launching our Summer Connected Direct Teen Night, aimed at teens in grades 6 through 12, to provide a safe space for recreational activity opportunities. And we were able to serve 225 individuals at Joy Park and 346 individuals at Ed Davis this summer. Activities included open gym, arts and crafts, a live DJ, food, giveaways, hair care services, nail techs, community speakers, vendors, and etc. Was able to increase the number of members in the Youth Success Summit Network from 80 community-based organizations to over 120, and was able to host the first Youth Success Summit conference that provided training and technical assistance to improve program quality for youth serving organizations in the out-of-school time space. And lastly, conducting the third annual Akron City Festival, which is a family-friendly atmosphere that celebrates Akron's youth and young adults as they start a new school year. Last year, we were able to serve over 1,300 participants in the parade, and working with Lock 3, we reached our goal, which was over 3,000. We actually were closer to 4,000 participants last year. For 2026, some of my major goals include continue to implement the strategic plan around violence intervention and prevention with the goal of reducing the number of violent incidents by 10%. We will be planning all of 2026 how we want to implement the Wallace Grant for 27, 28, 29, and 30. We will be partnering with the Aspen Institute Project Play to conduct the State of Play Akron report that will highlight our strengths that we have in our sports and wellness community, but more so highlight and identify areas of opportunities that we have in our sports and wellness space. And our goal is to create strategies on how we're going to get to our goal of 63% of youth participating in exercise 60 minutes by the year 2030. Increasing the number of of members in the Youth Success Summit Network from 120 community-based organizations to 150, and hosting the second annual YSS conference that provides training and technical assistance to nonprofit community-based organizations in the out-of-school time space. And lastly, conducting the fourth annual Akron City Festival with, again, a goal of serving 1,300 youth and reaching 3,000 to 4,000 youth and young adults, all downtown at Lock 3.
Thank you, Danico. Great job. Question from Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Danico, and thank you for the work that you do. You do a great job. Now, on the Wallace Foundation grant, is that a definite? Is it, you said securing, so.
Yeah, so just to highlight a little bit with the Wallace grant, we were, in Akron, we were awarded a grant because of the great cross-sector collaboration that derived from the Violence Intervention and Prevention Strategic Plan. So Akron was one of 1,000 communities identified for the great cross-sector collaboration work, and that 1,000 communities turned into 8 communities. We are one of 8 communities who will be receiving this opportunity to work with the Wallace Foundation. And in 2026, we are going to be planning how we want to pilot in 2027, and then in 28, 29, and 30, we'll be implementing what we've learned from our pilot.
One more question, if that's okay. The rec nights, is there any consideration to host one at Lawton Street?
Absolutely. So the goal this year is to expose this Connected to Rec in every cluster. So beginning in April, the team that will include Recs and Parks, myself and some other community leaders such as the Akron Urban League, we're going to begin planning how we want to implement Connected to Rec this summer. And absolutely, we would love to do something over at Lawton.
Thank you. Your question? Yeah, Councilwoman Amobia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for what you're doing, because I think we all know that when young people are introduced to positive activities, that they have a much better outlook. Are you finding that many of the children that are participating on a regular basis? Parents, do we have much contact with them? and I was looking at the list of people that took advantage of the ARPA programs, the nonprofits. Are many of them still engaged in the work with you?
Yeah, so we are still actively working with Youth Success Summit to recruit more community-based organizations, specifically in that sports and wellness realms. There are a lot of organizations who are learning about Youth Success Summit, and our goal in 2026 is to really get specifically our sports and wellness nonprofit organizations to learn more about how to become a member of Youth Success Summit, which ultimately will give them resources related to marketing, training, technical assistance, coordination of services, resources, and funding. So we're definitely continuing to brand what Youth Success Summit is to the community. It's a 2-year initiative, so it's still new. As it relates to the family dynamic, we've kind of identified 4 focus areas. One is the out-of-school time space. One is violence intervention and prevention. To answer your question, the third space is around youth and parent voice. So we have a work group led by Summit Education Initiative who meets on a monthly basis to really elevate what we're doing, engaging our families who's a part of our ecosystem. And then the fourth one is around post-secondary success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I didn't see Sharon. Councilwoman Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say it's been such a joy to watch Danico and this group evolve. You know, to have all of the after-school providers under one umbrella, learning from each other, learning those best practices, has just been amazing to watch, and their impact on children has just quadrupled. It's just been great. And also, don't sell yourself short. Danico also runs Night Out Against Crime for all of us.
Thank you.
There you go. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. Just to piggyback on Sharon, I think it's just amazing how the Connect at Direct. I mean, when you think about just Connect at Direct, I witnessed you connect the police officers with the youth. I witnessed you connect some of the leaders in the community with the youth. So I think that's an amazing name, and I just look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future. So great job with Connect at Direct. Great job.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, Councilwoman Boyce has her hand raised.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tina Boyes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question, Danico, about the Wallace Foundation grant. You said that it's going to focus, it says it's going to focus on East Akron. Does that mean it will be targeted only towards East Akron, or will that be your primary area of focus?
Yeah, so we want to learn, well, let me go back. So part of what we've done is kind of identify that the East cluster, based off of the violence intervention and prevention strategic plan, based off of the report provided by juvenile courts, based off of some data points tied to Akron Public Schools, and even in collaboration with our sustainability efforts with Casey, we've identified the East Akron cluster as a huge need. So when we were approached by Wallace, the goal in this is a learning community. So what we do in East Akron, not only do we want it transferable throughout all of Akron, but this is a learning community that we want it to be a national model. So we're actually developing a strategy focusing on advancing opportunities for youth furthest away from opportunity, and the data reports show that the East Akron cluster kind of deserves that intentional, intense focus. So we want to learn based off of what we pilot in 26 and 27, we want to implement throughout Akron, but also Wallace is asking for Akron to be a national leader in developing strategies to advance adolescents and provide opportunities for youth and young adults.
Sounds
That's
good.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just brief.
Yep.
It takes a village for sure. And but just a suggestion, President, that perhaps a longer discussion on this piece today wouldn't permit that. But to see some of those data points for us to get that and focus on this discussion, because it's a very robust grant that you've received, and that. Again, it's a team, and I get that. But thank you for everything that you do, and maybe in the future that could happen. Thank you for everything.
Will do. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Danico.
Thanks. Next, we have Emma Lieberth Osborne, who's our policy and grant strategist.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, President Somerville, members of council. I am Emma Lieberth Osborne, policy and grant strategist for the city of Akron. Thank you to Mayor Malik for the opportunity to serve in this role. But really, I focus on two things, policy at the state and federal level, and that includes communicating with our legislators, state representatives, state senators, members of Congress, and the United States Senate. Also tracking legislation at the state and federal level and paying attention to things that are being introduced that are going to be good for Akron or bad for Akron. And then also maintaining the relationships that we have within the federal administration and also at the state administration, especially Department of Transportation and a few others. I also work closely with some of the national membership associations that we are a part of, U.S. Conference of Mayors nationally, the Ohio Mayors Alliance. I am also the liaison with our state consultants, CHW Advisors. We have no current federal consulting, so we are utilizing the resources with the National League of Cities, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and other folks within the network, aside from also just researching pretty closely what's happening in D.C. I also monitor the letters of support requests. Every time there is a grant, we get dozens of requests from community partners, and we also seek letters of requests from community partners when we are moving forward. As far as grants go, I work with Tessa Smith, who is our grant manager, and work really citywide across departments on their grant applications and the implementation initiatives. We identify new grants and distribute those into a weekly email. Tessa also hosts a call every Wednesday for folks who focus on grant work in their specific department. We also work to build capacity around grant applications to make sure that the folks who are the subject matter experts are really the points of contact, but also helping them with whatever that they need. And then again, just helping to collaborate on the writing of grants, editing, and also the submission of grants. So 2025 was an interesting year, especially in the grant world. But as far as some of the fund development, we applied as a city for 107 grants. We were awarded about 42 grants the city of Akron did receive, which is really a pretty good number. That goes off to a lot of the hard work for the folks who are in engineering and the police department, the fire department folks who we work with, as far as getting those grants put together and submitted. I also helped obtain 14,000, almost 15, for the Heinz Pool Summer Dance Festival, which is an initiative through the city of Akron. Also, $90,000 for the Cities for Financial Empowerment. This is the Small Business Boost Grant that we have been getting up and running, which is working with small businesses across the city and United Way of Summit Medina. As far as federal appropriations go, we got the news relatively recently, which is, I think, really exciting. We did submit, as a city, multiple appropriations, and we found out we did get awarded $1.2 million for downtown Akron Main Street project on the end near Missing Falls, Gojo, for some real necessary repairs, and Congresswoman Sykes put that forward. Congresswoman Sykes also put forward our request of $250,000 for the East Copley Road, some improvements there. And we were also a part of a team application which really helped obtain $1 million for the polymer industry cluster in the facility at the University of Akron. Other things, as I said, 2025 was a challenging year with the federal landscape changing. But I am really proud of how we were able to not only pivot, but to also make sure that we were including everyone. In this room, we held a citywide grant meeting for all staff of every department to talk about the regulations that were coming down from the federal level, because there was a lot of uncertainty. For several months in 25, the grants just stalled. And we are a city, just like many others in the country, that are reliant on federal funding. So I'm really proud of that effort. It was really a team effort to make sure everybody who worked for the city of Akron was on the same page. Also, an exciting, the Acme Foundation approached us and wants to put in a $100,000 commitment to help make some improvements in Hardesty Park. We've worked with Councilman Bolden on trying to get that up and running, but that is from a local partner who approached us, and so that's been an exciting development. Also helped with the All-America City Award in Denver, and I've also been the point person for the administration through the Unify America, Unify Akron process, which, as you know, is just getting up and running. For 2026, another exciting year ahead, but really continuing to identify external funding mechanisms for city projects and our priorities. Working to really effectively manage the relationships at the state and federal level. It sounds kind of like a loose phrase, but it is really critically important to the work that we do here to make sure that we are communicating and educating our legislators. I'm also hopeful that we will be able to obtain federal appropriations through the community project funding. The City of Akron submitted our request through Congresswoman Sykes' office and Senator John Husted's office. Senator Moreno's deadline is a little bit later in the month, but we are looking at getting some additional federal funding to help with some of those projects. And also just continuing to advocate in Columbus and in DC to ensure that our city has a voice on important issues. And one other thing as it relates to the grant process, Tessa and I are really trying to centralize some more grant processes and protocols across the city because there are so many requests for grant applications. We want to make sure we're not all working in silos, but making sure that we can be communicative and transparent and helpful. And the last goal that is not on the slide, but we also went to the state for their state capital budget, as you heard yesterday in council. And that's, we're waiting, we'll know hopefully by June, but we did put forward an ask for $550,000 to make improvements to the Dan Street training facility for the police department. And so that's another goal, and hopefully that will come to fruition. But any questions? Yeah.
Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Emily, for everything that you do. I have a question here under federal appropriations, the $250,000 for the East Copley District. Has that study been done, or is that a study that's going to occur?
That is a study that had been done through the engineering and was on the top of their list as far as needing to make improvements. And so because it is your ward, I can certainly send you all that information.
All right, thank you.
As well, yeah.
Do we have a lobbyist in Columbus?
We do, CHW. They are a really critical part to the success that we've had. They've made some pretty amazing inroads within the DeWine administration. And again, the relationships with the Ohio Department of Development and several other agencies that they've been able to get us into have been really helpful.
Okay, so they communicate with you regularly?
Hourly some days, yes.
Okay. Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just have two more.
Okay.
All right, next we have Brittany Stewart, who is our data transparency strategist. She is funded by GAR, and she will be joining us via the Zoom link. So if you would take a look at the monitors, you'll be able to see Brittany.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you all can hear me. So yes, my name is Brittany. I'm the data transparency strategist. I'm happy to be here and have the opportunity to support Akron residents. I am currently based out of Washington, D.C., and I travel to Akron quarterly. So my focus is on strengthening how the city governs and uses its data. This includes setting clear standards for how data is defined, managed, and shared across departments. I then will partner with departments to determine their own key performance indicators and put systems in place for organizing and applying information effectively. I also represent Akron in the Bloomberg What Works Cities initiative. This is a national certification program that sets standards for how cities use data to operate effectively and transparently. Through this network, Akron is able to learn from other leading US and Latin American cities, as well as share our own successes and lessons learned. Now, in 2025, I started in October, but my focus was on building a foundation. So I reviewed how data is currently managed across departments and identified opportunities to improve how information is defined, shared, and used. I also worked with the What Works Cities program team to understand where Akron stands today and to develop a clear path forward toward meeting their certification standards. In addition, I led the evaluation of a strategy management tool aimed at centralizing and standardizing how goals, initiatives, and key indicators are organized across departments citywide. Now, in 2026, my focus shifts to implementation. We will launch a revamped Together for Akron public dashboard by the second quarter. This will give residents a clearer view of the mayor's priorities, departmental progress, and the impact we can now show through data. We will also establish a citywide data governance working group by the second quarter. This group will standardize how data is managed and coordinate data reporting practices and cross-departmental data sharing. In addition, we will implement our new strategy management tool starting in the first quarter with full adoption by the third quarter. This will create a citywide platform for tracking both strategic and operational work across departments. This tool will also enable us to further utilize data to better analyze, visualize, and report on measurable outcomes, which we're all very excited about. Finally, we will provide training and resources to help staff build literacy and confidence in using data more effectively in their day-to-day work. So together, these efforts will strengthen how the city collects, manages, and communicates its information, thus making our work more transparent, coordinated, and certainly, and most importantly, effective for residents. And so I look forward to continuing to partner with departments as we move towards this next stage of implementation. Thank you. Happy to answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. One question here from Councilman Fran Wilson.
Thank you for your presentation. I look forward to connecting one-on-one about your work. But regarding, where is this line item? I don't see it on page 60 for...
So this is going to be on page, I believe it's 66. This is in the grant funded, so it's the $83,336 that is grant funded.
Do you say GAR grant? Okay, thank you.
No, this one goes through the end of October. Yeah.
Yeah. Information too, just for there's a lot of people, a lot of eyes. We just get some of this, and you guys gave us the actual budget itself last week. Thank you for that. Handed us some other information, but there's a lot of information in front of us, and especially on some of this, the goals, et cetera. So we're trying to navigate back and forth and look at this and that and listen, and so it's kind of difficult on our side, but you guys have provided some information for us in advance, and appreciate that.
Thank you. Yep.
To Mr. Fusco's point, Brittany, Chief of Staff, is there a way that we can, in the future, get this so it's laid out, like you said? I mean, I find myself jumping around with pages, like it could be like all laid out for us. You know, is there a smoother transition? Because, like, yeah, have you had a chance to even think about a different approach to laying this out, so to speak?
We can certainly do that for 27. And finally, we have our education and health strategist, Rochelle Wardell. So this is under the mayor's strategy. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Mr. Chair, members of council. Thank you for your time today. As education and health strategist in the mayor's office, my role focuses on advancing city priorities across early learning, education, public health, and aging. While much of our work across the city is focused on delivering services and ensuring operations run effectively day to day, my role is centered on working with community partners to strengthen systems that improve education and health outcomes over time. This work involves coordinating across systems and partners, working with schools, healthcare organizations, community-based providers, businesses, and philanthropy to align efforts and move initiatives forward that improve outcomes for Akron's residents. The work often sits at the intersection of systems, including strengthening early learning infrastructure, supporting education and workforce alignment, advancing public health strategies, and ensuring older adults can remain connected to services and opportunities in our community. In 2025, the work focused on building and strengthening systems that support residents across education and health. One of the biggest milestones was launching Phase 1 of Greater Akron's Unified Early Learning System. This effort expands access to high-quality early learning opportunities for children from birth to kindergarten entry through a coordinated network of providers and represents a long-term strategy to strengthen the early childhood landscape here in Akron and support families, working parents, and their employers. We also secured national technical assistance from Start Early to support the design and implementation of the system, helping ensure Akron's approach best reflects best practices from across the country. Another major area of work was strengthening collaboration between the City of Akron and Akron Public Schools. This included aligning early learning efforts with K-12 readiness, supporting partnerships connected to the College and Career Academies of Akron, expanding student exposure to Akron's polymer industry, and improving procedures affecting access to our community learning centers. In the health space, we worked with cross-sector partners to design a hospital-based violence intervention program, which will connect victims of violence with support services and help interrupt cycles of retaliation. We also continued advancing the full-term First Birthday Collaborative. In 2025, this included securing funding and launching the Infant Health Fund. This effort supports grassroots and neighborhood-based efforts in areas experiencing the highest disparities in infant mortality. Finally, we supported the work of the Akron Commission on Aging, including filling 5 vacancies, helping the commission adopt rules and procedures, and strengthening engagement with organizations serving older residents across our city. In addition, we leveraged public and philanthropic resources to support several of these priority initiatives, including roughly $700,000 in co-investment and pro bono consulting for the Unified Early Learning System. In 2026, the focus is on moving several of these initiatives from design into implementation and expansion. For the Unified Early Learning System, Phase 2 will focus on scaling literacy-focused professional development and launching a child care business accelerator in partnership with Greater Akron Chamber and the Early Childhood Resource Center. This accelerator will support providers in strengthening their business operations and sustainability, an essential component of expanding quality child care capacity in our community. We will also continue refining core system structures and as we see the initiative grow. Another key priority will be launching the hospital-based violence intervention program. This is on track for implementation before the end of spring. This program will provide support and services to individuals who have experienced violent injury, while also helping reduce the likelihood of future violence. We will also, in partnership with the Akron Public Schools, establish a Community Learning Center Advisory Committee to help guide strategy and strengthen coordination between the city, schools, and community partners connected to CLC programming. Finally, we will continue supporting the expansion of Akron After School. Through partnerships with Akron Public Schools and community-based organizations, we look to increase access to high-quality after-school opportunities for students across the city. Together, these efforts are focused on strengthening systems, the systems that support Akron residents across the lifespan, from early childhood through older adulthood, and ensuring the city is working effectively with partners to improve outcomes in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. You have any questions for Rochelle? Okay. Councilwoman Jan Davis.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for all that you do. On your Akron, the Unified Early Childhood, how's that going? Or do you have a progress report on that?
I do. Our partner Summit Education Initiative is conducting the evaluation of that program. We're looking to move the needle in 4 areas. We're looking to increase enrollment in the programs, to decrease workforce turnover, to increase the quality of the programs and finally to improve service connection for families needing services either for children who are caught with delays or families with their basic needs. We are seeing in the first, I think, 5 months through January, we are seeing increased enrollment. Our baseline enrollment in these providers was about 44%. In January, they were up to 53. That doesn't sound like a huge jump, but when I tell you this next point, you'll see that it is actually impressive because at the same time, those providers that are part of the pilot experienced a 54% turnover. The workforce crisis in early childhood is even worse than those of us close to the issue understood. We are seeing in the last couple of months a bit of a stabilization, but we have classrooms sitting open because we cannot find the teachers. So in the second half of the first phase, we're really leaning in on this workforce issue. On the quality, the third indicator, they have this environmental rating scale that they're going in. We've done a pre and a mid test on those. On 6 of the 8 indicators that they look at, we've had improvement across the board. Another really interesting fact about that, with the quality improvements, they're looking at every single classroom, if each classroom is improving their quality indicators. All of the classrooms who saw a decrease also saw turnover of teacher. They're much more likely to decrease in quality if they cannot maintain the staff. So this is, again, why we are really leaning in on that in the second half. And then finally, as far as referring families, we don't just want to refer families to the services that they need. Our measure of success is, do those families actually get into the services that we are referring them to? And so far, our family navigators it's a shared service between the providers. I believe 3 months in, they were at a 40% success rate in getting the families to the services that they needed.
And one final question, if I may. When does the pilot phase end?
It was started September 1 and will go through August. And we look to start a phase 2 around that time.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hanna? Nope. Councilwoman Lopian?
No, thank you for all that you're doing, particularly with the Aging Commission. I think Dr. Stern and his group, they're going to have a whole lot of recommendations for the mayor, so look out, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Stern is coming.
Councilwoman Margot Somerville.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. This is an observation. We've heard so much information today, and I think it's going to be beneficial if we can have departments come before council on a more regular basis so that we hear and understand and learn about these programs, and we're not taking up so much time, talking about the programs and the great work that you do. So if we can be more intentional in figuring that out, I greatly appreciate that. And just a question, I know that all departments have been asked to make cuts. How much, in terms of cuts, have your department made?
The mayor's office made cuts of approximately $180,000.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Bolden, Bruce Bolden.
Yes, thank you for presentations. Appreciate it. A couple of things I have, and these are, I guess, more actual budget questions. In a number of when you look at salaries, look at increases, I look at Office of Strategy is about 3%. I think the only one that really seems to be up is communications, about a 5.7% increase in salaries with the same amount of people. If you go to Office of Opportunity Engagement, it's about a 3% increase in salary. Just wondering why there's a 5% in communications and a 3% in others.
So all of the elected and appointed officials were done at 2.5% for this year. In fact, all non-bargaining were done at 2.5% this year. There potentially were some, I would have to look to see if there were some salary adjustments, but 2.5% was the COLAs for all non-bargaining.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which one were you specifically looking at for communications?
Office of Communication. It was budgeted last year at, it is page 63, budgeted 287, 139. This year's budget for salaries 303, 564. That's 5.7.
So we did have one employee that did get a salary
Okay,
adjustment last year.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you, Brittany, for presenting from the mayor's office.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Good
President
information.
Somerville and Chair Lombardo.
No problem.
For allowing me to showcase the talent that the mayor and I get to work with every day.
Great. Good information. Thank you. Thanks, Rochelle. There you go. You have a round of applause. There you go. Did you want to say anything? You all right? Okay. All right. Next up, we're going to have, I believe, our municipal clerk of courts, Sandra Kurt, will come in. I didn't know if maybe a 5-minute bathroom break, if anybody needs that.
Good.
No.
You speaking for yourself?
Maybe one more. Maybe one more.
You need to go? You need to go?
No. Nope. But
No, I know you're dealing with some old people. Thank you.
okay, go ahead. Or you want me to introduce her? Or?
Oh, go ahead. So thank you. Up next, we have our Clerk of Courts, Sandra Kurt. She'll be presenting on behalf of the clerk side of the function of the municipal court. In the budget book, the numbers. On the budget book, the numbers begin on page 47, and on the goals and objectives document, it is page 11. So I'll hand it off.
So 47, hold on.
Page 47 for the budgeted numbers.
Yeah, budget.
So
Okay.
salary and 47.
Yep.
And then page 11 on the goals and objectives document.
The goals and objective document, okay, got it. From agenda to go. Right?
I
That's
believe.
Page 11, I got it.
Okay.
On agenda to go, it's the last document, everybody, at the bottom. Just little helpful hint. Well, thank you for being here. Our Clerk of Courts, Sandra Kurt, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lombardo and Vice Chair Mobian, as well as members of the committee and members of council. My name is Sandra Kurt. I am the clerk of your Akron Municipal Court. I would like to say to those of you who have been serving on city council since 2019, you will no longer see that we have a goal of going live on Tyler because now we've actually done it. So we went live on Tyler September 1st, 2025, after having discussed that for a long time. So there we are. We were only able to accomplish this through a Herculean effort by my staff. They not only did their daily work, but additionally, for quite some time, they entered the case information for the new cases into two systems, both the old AMSIS system and the Tyler test system, so that we could discover the aspects of Tyler that weren't working the way that we needed them to. Additionally, second and third shift personnel came in on day shift to be trained, as well as doing their job on second and third shift. And my management team became de facto project managers and IT specialists as we continue to work to get Tyler Enterprise Justice to perform as expected and as needed. Through the skill and dedication of my staff, we were able to transition from the 1987 era AMSIS to the state-of-the-art Tyler Enterprise Justice without adding any staff or increasing our ongoing operating costs. The preparation for the Tyler switchover was valuable in another way. We discovered 7,000 unpaid cases that had not been sent to collections by the prior administrations. So we corrected that and are now attempting to collect that $1.7 million of funds that are owed to the court. Also, due to implementing Tyler, we are now able to accept online payments. We have significantly more revenues coming in every month due to adding this convenience. You will see this reflected in next year's report. Finally, Tyler Enterprise Justice enables document images to be viewable online for improved communications with residents and attorneys. In addition to implementing 21st century technology, another key accomplishment of 2025 was initiating the collection of poundage on garnishments that we process. So the Ohio Revised Code allows us to retain 2% of the garnishments that we process in order to cover our administrative costs. This has been available to the clerk for many years, and for no discernible reason, previous administrations just never collected these funds. We are averaging approximately $10,000 per month in this poundage. So that's $10,000 per month less that we need from the city operating fund. And those are the highlights from 2025, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, that is awesome. $10,000. I had one question. Let me see if I remembered. You said you uncovered 7-year-old cases that they weren't collected? Was that 7 years back?
7,000 cases.
7,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
from previous years.
From previous years?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and that amounts to $1.7 million that's owed to us that we've sent to collections.
Now,
we probably won't get all that in.
Right.
But we're trying.
How did you send it to collections? Did you use an outside firm or the Attorney General's office? Or?
We use Capital Recovery, and they tack on their fee to the people that they're trying to get the money from. So we get the full money that's owed to us. It doesn't cost us anything.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilwoman Modio?
So tell me about, is this part of your new case management system that you're finding all this out, or?
So as part of it, it's really the preparation that we had to do to transfer the information from the old system to the new system, right? So that's where we uncovered a lot of these things that had just been kind of sitting dormant from the prior administrations.
So the cases go back, the 7,000 cases, how many years back?
Scott?
Many years, many years.
I'm sorry? Okay, approximately 15 years.
Oh, my God. And the garnishment wage, the $10,000 that you can get every month, that's for processing these cases, or?
That's for, it's two separate things. So one of the things that we do is garnishments. So for anybody that doesn't know what garnishments are, like, let's say that I owe you money and I'm not paying you, then you can have the court garnish my wages.
Right.
And so we have to go through a lot of work to make that happen.
Right.
And the Ohio Revised Code allows us to take 2% of the garnishment amount in order to pay us back, basically, for doing that work.
So how did you find that out?
We were doing it at the county, and we discovered that that we were able to do it also for garnishments for the municipal court, and they just weren't doing it.
That's amazing. So how much money have you collected?
We just started it in December. In December, if I remember right, was a little bit low because we don't typically collect as much in December, but the average from December through March has been about $10,000 a month.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councilman Fran Wilson.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, great report out here. I had a question about the Tyler application system. I know just being around generally the legal community, I've been hearing that there's been quite a learning curve for some folks, particularly in the defense world and also for the judges. I wonder, how are the different entities picking up the software? Are there still some folks falling behind a little bit, or is everybody mostly on it right now?
As with any new software system, you're going to have the people that pick it up more quickly, and you're going to have the people for whom it's more of a struggle. And I would say, generally speaking, it was easier for our office because more of our employees are newer, and so they hadn't been using the old system for 30 years, right? So it was less difficult for them. For the court, it was a little bit more of a challenge, but my understanding is that they're coming around and picking it up and able to use it better. But it's going to vary from judge to judge and from courtroom to courtroom.
Understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilman Bruce Bolden.
Again, a budget question. Question, I'm a little confused here. We do not pay salaries for the municipal court, correct?
No, we do.
Okay, because it's listed under salaries and wages as 0, but we have the service contracts under 231, is what I'm
Okay,
looking at as far as the
which
budget.
page are you looking at? So
I was looking at 49.
Okay, so that's their computerization fund.
Okay.
So, yeah, so when the revenues come into the court, some of it is sent back to the general fund, and some of it, by their rules about how the case revenues are distributed, goes to a computerization fund. So that's what this fund is. So it funds computerization projects, but it does not have the employees charged there.
Okay. And where are the, I mean, I'm looking at the judges, but I see the judges, but I don't.
So look on the previous page, 48 has the staff, so 43 and a
Okay.
half.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Councilwoman Tina Boyes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to divert too much attention from the courts, but Ms. Curt, you mentioned a really interesting point about the collections and how much you've been able to put back into your budget because of the collections that you're doing. This is more of a question for Mr. Fricker, I'm sorry. Do we do any sort of do we pursue collections on unpaid taxes and assessments for the city?
We do. We do. So the tax department has a whole process they go through using the Attorney General's office. We also, through the county, seek to collect back assessments.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think that's,
What's the, in
well,
terms
we'll
of?
talk about the municipal court, or we gonna? Is that all right? I mean, there might be a time later on for that. Is that good? Okay. Any other questions for us? Sandra Curt? Very good. Thank you.
All right, I thought that might be the easiest one of the day. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up is public safety, I believe. Well, you know what? We do a 5-minute break since we're maybe halfway. Let's do a 5-minute restroom. We'll give everybody one more minute to come back, and we'll get started. All righty, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We're now getting into our public safety segment of this budget hearing. And Mr. Wheeler?
Hello, thank you. So up next here we have our Public Safety Department headed here by Craig Morgan. The budget numbers begin in the budget book on page 80 for public safety, and included in there is not only Public Safety Administration, but also the 911 call center. And then further on page 13 of the goals and objectives document, that is where the department's overarching goals begin.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Morgan, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Craig Morgan. I am the Chief of Public Safety. As you know, my accomplishments for last year are zero because I just started this year. Of course, I was the Chief City Prosecutor, and I want to thank Mayor Malik for giving me an opportunity to be here in this capacity today. As many of you know, we have traditionally always had a Director of Public Safety in the city of Akron, which helped manage and oversee the police and fire divisions, but we've augmented that with a couple of other entities, including our public safety strategist. We have a new emergency management office, which is in its developmental stage. And so myself, Mr. Ingram, and Deputy Chief McCosey, who will talk about the Combined Dispatch Center, will fill in what's under the Department of Public Safety's roles here.
Tony?
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Council, Madam President. I will try and be as brief as my colleague, Ms. Davis. Just quickly, with respect to where we were as a strategy for public safety, and it is both in the area of working with police and fire, but also really building an ecosystem and reimagining public safety, as I think many of you have heard me say before, looking at safety from a community perspective, looking at public safety from a grassroots level, and implementing programs and ideas along that path. One of those things that we were able to accomplish last year was we were able to launch the street team pilot beginning in January. It was an 18-month pilot. We are not completely ended with that initial pilot, but with that, we were also able to work with researchers because we want to be able to say something once this pilot is over. And part of what we want to say is, how do we think about expanding? Where do we need to think about moving? And so we've successfully been able to partner with a research group to look at what they're accomplishing from a statistical perspective, but also from a qualitative perspective. And so at the end of that evaluation, a big part of what we wanted was the community to be able to tell the stories of what their interactions have been with the street team. And so far, it has been nothing but positive. So we look forward to presenting that information once that evaluation is complete. Also in 2025, we were able to secure the Police Executive Research Forum to do our use of force review for the Akron Police Department. We are hoping that report is coming soon. maybe as soon as today, hopefully, but still waiting for the final evaluation of that process. And as Carla stated when she was up here, we tried to make a very concerted effort to do outreach with the public to make sure that the public had input and conversation with them in terms of what their concerns were and some of their thoughts moving forward. So that was also really important. As part of also building that ecosystem and reimagining public safety, was able to secure just a small amount of money in partnership with the ADM board for a program that I titled Getting to the Root. And this ties into some of Councilman Fusco's work around really thinking about how trauma, how mental health is impacting folks' psychological sense of what safety means, how isolation is contributing to what people are feeling with respect to how safe they are in the city. And so part of that grant is really working again with community-based organizations to really break down the stigma around mental health and also provide education around why it's important to speak to someone, to seek counseling if you are struggling, if you're dealing with whatever circumstances out there. So we just received those funds. We're excited to see where that moves forward. Moving forward, we are actively engaged in looking at what an implementation plan will look like once we get the responses from the PERF group. We've already started working on some of those things proactively, continuing to work with the street team, continuing to evaluate what that looks like. And the other thing with respect to engagement, we had a very successful engagement with the Akron Police Department and our faith leaders doing a Circles campaign, working with Project Ujima, and we really plan to continue that. There was a lot of good feedback that we received from that group, and we think it'll be worthwhile continuing that moving forward. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. I have some questions. Can I ask how much did we get from the ADM board? Is it for 1 year? Where does that show up in our books? And then the last thing would be the street team. Where would that show up in our numbers right here?
So the ADM funding was about $40,000, just a small amount of money, and primarily it was to work with those community-based organizations who are working with families and individuals directly, helping them. So one of the things that we did, each of those organizations, we provided them with bus passes so the families wouldn't have that barrier to get to and from the appropriate resources that they need. So it was just a small amount of money, but also there's going to be some inreach into various communities to really start to think about how we build community around this idea of safety and working with individuals in that space around isolation and those things. So.
In the street team, where do those numbers?
So in terms of where those numbers are, they are on page 81. One thing I'll point out is I put on some of these pages, I put notes at the very bottom. There's kind of a black bar down at the bottom. So on that page, it kind of outlines all of the major items included on that particular page.
Okay, thank you. So when I see that on page 81, because it does say street team, so thanks for pointing that out. Is that under the service contracts then?
Correct, yeah. So that's in that $758,000.
And Mr. Chair, if I can add, glad to be here and appreciate everyone's time. We're really excited about this program and the expansion. So, previously had allocated about $180,000 over 18 months for the pilot program. And so that, is in previous year's budgets. So this that runs through this June. So, right, the first 6 months of this year is already covered. And so this is kind of a placeholder as we negotiate the phase 2 of this project. It's about $500,000 that we're looking at over the next 12 months. So from the summer of 2026 to the summer of 2027. So that's a pretty significant expansion. Again, we're still working through the nuts and bolts of that with Minority Behavioral Health Group, who's also working with us on the hospital-linked violence intervention. So these things will kind of work hand in glove with each other. That contract will come before this body, before June. So we look forward to sharing more details then.
Thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out. Any questions for Mr. Ingram or Craig Morgan? Mr. Fusco?
Thank you, Chair. So I'm looking under here on page 80, I reckon. So the Director of Public Safety and the Emergency Management Director, those two pieces there, those are cabinet members, is that right? Or?
The Chief of Public Safety is cabinet. The other role is not cabinet.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilman Wilson.
Hi, thank you, Chair. I just had a couple questions. One's more specific and one's more reflective. I know, the 311 call center or 911 call center, there's been a lot of talk about the artificial intelligence taking over non-emergency calls. There's been a lot of community concern around that. I just wondered, how is it going? And then also, what oversight exists? I have had, I think, 2 complaints to date from my own residents about being stuck in a call loop for non-emergency calls with the artificial software. So I just wanted to ask that first.
We'll be, Deputy Chief McCozy is going to come up. We're going to talk about the call center. Yeah, we'll definitely get to those.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know if anything 911 call related is Marcosi?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay. Understood. Thank you.
See a dip in.
Yep. Councilman Fusco? Sure.
Yeah, thanks. A dip in education from the 25 budget. We committed 82,000 and last year, but only spent 655. Just curious about that, about the education piece. Then the service contracts went up pretty high. I assume that's for the perf.
Well, one of those is definitely the
Yeah.
PERF contract. Additionally, to the next piece that I'll discuss, one of those is a contract for the consultant for the development of our emergency management office, and then the remainder.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was a training that they were going to send several people from the administration to last year that we budgeted for, and that did not materialize. So that's what that
Gotcha.
$82,000.
Is that like an emergency thing?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to go to. You should think about that.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say thank you for the street teams allocation. I have attended multiple meetings with one of the key participants in that program, and that is really going to be a great addition. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Yeah, we're, there's 2 prongs to it. There's the transactional, which is the immediate intervention into potential retaliation and mitigating that. But as Mr. Ingram always reminds me, there's also a transformative component of trying to get people services and get them on a different path.
Yep. Thank you. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. In case I missed it, with the perf, where are we in terms of delivering that information, and have we received any preliminary information or preliminary findings in that space?
Yeah, we have not.
We have not received it. It's due. They laid out a 6-month timeline. We're right at near the end of that timeline, so we're waiting for it with anticipation.
Okay. And there was no information like shared ahead of time. It's just, hey, I'll give you the entire report all at the same time. What? Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you for your time this afternoon. Great work.
Sure. The next piece that I'll talk about before we bring up Deputy Chief McCozy to talk about the dispatch center, I do want to talk. Oh, sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's the danger of me sitting back here. I just want to clarify for Councilman Garrett, we have had kind of ongoing conversations with Police Executive Research Forum team, right? And so, we are aware of some of the kind of general concepts and areas that the recommendations are going to be in, and have been kind of working on what implementation in that can look like, but we haven't received a formal draft report or that kind of written documentation. So I just want to clarify and be precise there.
So one other piece that I did want to mention is our emergency management office. Of course, as many of you know, it's relatively new here, very much long overdue for the city of Akron. As I mentioned, we have been working with a consultant to help build out the program. We have been going through it's a comprehensive review of all city services. Of course, our safety forces, police and fire, are going to be on the front line for any emergency, whether it's man-made or natural in nature. But really what EMA does is put the whole city under one single umbrella, moving with a single vision and purpose. A lot of our colleagues in many of our other departments are going to be critical to responding to all types of emergencies, whether it's public service, handling debris management, or damage assessment. Our partners in finance are probably going to be critical in helping us get funding from FEMA and disaster relief. We have been building out an emergency operations center for the city, and there's been some technological enhancements to that site. Our goal this year is to complete the entire comprehensive emergency management plan for the whole city. There's going to be a couple of components that augment that. We have been working on, as many of you know, we've been working on a citywide continuity of operations plan for all departments. The plans on how each department does what they do, where their records are stored, how there's lines of succession in people's long-term absence. That continuity of operations plan will augment our comprehensive emergency management plan. And in addition to that, we've also started our code red emergency alert system. All people, all of our citizens can sign up for an alert, whether it's by email or text. We've started that at the lower level. We want to master it with low priority emergencies such as street closings and weather, but certainly throughout the balance of this year, we want to upgrade it. We want to make sure that all the kinks are worked out before we go with critical emergencies. And in addition to that, the emergency management office is also coordinating efforts, both with our safety forces. They do great work in developing incident and event action plans, making sure that they're coordinating them under one umbrella of emergency management, and finally coordinating some good training with Akron Public Schools and our safety forces. So that we can, make sure that we're on the same page for responding to those types of emergencies. So a lot of work here for emergency management system, emergency management office, but it's going to help set us up for success in the event of some type of disaster.
Great. Councilman Fusco.
Very briefly, thank you for that explanation there. I just don't know, and I don't want to take up budget time, but I don't know if you're going to introduce these folks out here, but I appreciate them coming down and at least watching what we're doing. I don't know if that was going to be part of it or not. I just want to thank you all. From what I understand, fire department folks are here watching the budget process, and thank you for doing that. So you're apprised of what goes on here whenever we go through this exciting time of budget. But appreciate you being here. Thank you for all you do as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco.
And if there's not any other questions about emergency management, we can have Deputy Chief McCosey come up and we can talk about the communication center.
Okay, sure. Deputy Chief McCosey, thanks for coming.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam President, members of the council. Here to talk about the Combined Communication Center, our 911 call center. The City of Akron Combined Communication Center is the largest public safety answering point in Summit County. They handle 60% of the total number of all 911 calls countywide and ranked 9th busiest in the state of Ohio. In 2025, the center handled 335,000 calls. That's more than 335 moments when somebody in Akron needed help, and our telecommunicators answered. Of those, 163,368 were 911 calls. This past year, we set a goal to meet Ohio's 911 answer rate benchmarks. Those benchmarks were 95% in 15 seconds and 97% in 20 seconds. We did meet those goals at exactly 95% of 911 calls within 15 seconds and had over 97% within 20 seconds. We set additional goals to fill vacancies and invest in our people. Those two were accomplished. We collaborated with HR to streamline the testing and hiring process and added 7 new trainees who will complete training later this year. We promoted professional development at all levels, and as a result, our supervisors earned national certifications, including Certified Public Executive, Registered Public Safety Leader, attended the APCO conference, and one of our supervisors achieved EMT certification through the Akron Fire Academy. We also implemented Frontline, which is a new digital platform that will modernize how we manage our SOPs, training and training records, and personnel files. Perhaps the most significant achievement was the deployment of Aurelian call answering technology for non-emergency calls. This technology reduces the workload for our call takers and ensures that 911 calls get immediate undivided attention. We will continue to explore new technology to allow our 911 dispatchers to focus on 911. In 2026, answering 911 calls will remain our top priority. Our goal will remain to be answering 95% of 911 calls within 15 seconds and 97% within 20 seconds. Alongside that state benchmark, we'll maintain our state reporting, training, and certification requirements. And to do this, staffing, maintenance, and development will also be a priority. As our newest technicians continue through their training, we'll soon begin the recruiting cycle for the next class of safety communications technicians to maintain budgeted strength. Finally, we'll continue to collaborate with our regional 911 partners to identify opportunities to track and improve service, coordinate and collaborate on technology improvements, and manage costs. With that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Deputy Chief McCosey? I'm sorry, Councilman Fran Wilson.
I asked my question too early, but there's been a lot of community concern around the artificial intelligence on the non-emergency calls. I just wondered if you could give us a little bit more context and if there's any oversight measures on if there's problems happening.
Sure. So to answer the first question, it's progressing along pretty well. We do supervise that process. We don't just flip the switch and let the thing run. Our supervisors have to be monitoring those calls. And so in real time, they're watching the screen, watching what's being said on the calls, and making sure that the calls are being handled correctly. To give you a sense of just how impactful this is, more than 2/3 of the calls that come in on non-911, non-emergency lines, are able to be handled by Aurelian. Only about 1/3 of them make it to a dispatcher where they actually answer the call, and then they redirect them however it's appropriate to do so. In addition to the live watch, they also do QA. Our supervisors are tasked with doing QA. They not only listen to Aurelian calls, they listen to our dispatchers as well. So there's a lot of monitoring that goes on. And we pay close attention to a lot of different markers digitally so that we can keep track of our progress and how we're doing.
Thank you. And I had one more, if that's okay, Chair.
Budget question? Budget related?
Yes, budget related.
Okay.
So in this packet, the goals and objective packet, page 14, I'm seeing, just looking at the call volume, actuals and estimated. I see a rather, continuous decline overall in total calls of service, but I also am very struck by the 10-ish thousand call gap between 911 and non-emergency. I just wonder, what does it say? This is my reflective question, but like, if we're having more non-emergency calls than other calls, I guess how are you guys factoring that into your goals and objectives for the year?
It is typical that our 911 calls, that the non-emergency calls outnumber. It's right about even. It always has been throughout the years. I think that maybe the question you're asking is, well, how do we figure that in and set up our personnel and all our other expenses? It's difficult to do. But one of the things that we have really had to struggle with is maintaining our staffing just so that we can hit the numbers we need to hit in terms of answering the call. Nobody wants to call 911 and hear nothing but the ring and the ring and the ring. We've got to answer those calls. So we have to make sure we have the right number of people. In recent years, we've had to pay in a lot of overtime to make that happen. By maintaining our staffing levels the way they need to be, that overtime number comes down, and we're able to make sure that we have the right number of people in the seats to take the calls.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you for your time. Mr. Morgan, thank you. All right. Next up, we'll hear from our Akron Fire Department.
So while they're configuring and we're bringing up Chief Henderson here.
Yep.
The fire budget and the numbers begin on the budget document on page 126. And on the goals and objectives document, the division's presentation begins on page 15.
All right, 126 and then 15, right?
Correct.
Okay. Got it. Welcome, Chief Henderson, and I think it's Lieutenant Pascu. All right.
Thank you, Finance Chair and Finance Committee. And for the record, I'm Chief Leon Henderson, Council President, and Mayor Malik. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be here today. With that being said, the Akron Fire Department provides comprehensive fire suppression, emergency medical services, rescue operations, fire prevention, and community health programs for residents and visitors throughout the city of Akron. Every day, firefighters and paramedics stand ready to respond to emergencies across our community, protecting lives, property, and the environment. The Akron Fire Department measures operational effectiveness through a series of performance indicators that reflect emergency response readiness, community risk reduction, firefighter safety, the responsible stewardship of public resources. These metrics align with National Fire Service best practices, including NFPA 1710, deployment principles, and ISO fire protection readiness standards, and help ensure the department continues to provide reliable and effective emergency services to the residents of Akron. 2026 goals in the department includes effectiveness response force deployment, maintain fully staffed engine companies, ladder companies, ALS medical units, and command officers, as well as perform preventive equipment maintenance to ensure that the department can deliver the resources necessary to safely mitigate fires, rescue, and medical emergencies. Bullet point number 2, system-wide coverage and readiness. All fire stations in the city of Akron remain open, staffed, and operational. The department's service delivery model ensures that when one unit is committed to an incident, the next closest available unit responds, maintaining uninterrupted emergency coverage across the city. Strategic equipment investments such as communication technology and med units replacements to ensure firefighters and paramedics can safely and effectively serve the community. The department remains committed to maintaining a modern, resilient emergency response system that balances operational readiness, firefighter safety, fiscal responsibility through careful alignment of staffing, deployment, prevention, and initiatives, and community partnerships. Workforce wellness and sustainability. The City of Akron approved a comprehensive firefighter pre-screening program as part of the department's cancer prevention strategy, supporting long-term health and workforce resilience. Protecting health and safety is essential to maintaining a reliable emergency response system. Continue implementing operational policies designed to reduce unsustainable overtime levels which can affect performance, safety, long-term workforce sustainability. Workforce development programs combined with responsible staffing practices, wellness initiatives, cancer prevention programs, and fatigue management policies help ensure that firefighters remain healthy, capable, and prepared to serve our community. Community initiatives and risk reduction. Continue participating in community initiatives such as incident investigation and smoke and CO detector installation programs, our alternative response vehicle, AV1, which reduce strains on frontline emergencies. Summit County Outreach Team, our SCOUT team, to provide crisis intervention. Our REACH team and our QRT team that provides medical guidance and intervention cares. Our youth engagement program to ensure a youth engagement partnership with APS. And the Akron Fire Department's service level and performance measures. As far as our EMS calls, has been consistent since 2023, 2024, and 2025 was approximately 45K per year. The average time to leave stations in seconds, which are vital. That time can go from 2023, 79 seconds, 92 seconds in 2024, and the same in 2025, and 88 seconds so far this year in 2026. The average time to EMS incidents in seconds, 333 seconds in 2023, 279 seconds in 2024, 2025, 273, and an estimated 295 in 2026. Forest fires, calls processed for fire incidents. That was 12,418 in 2023. 2024, we had 11,875. In 2025, we had 7,189. In 2026, that projection is around 10,494. Fire inspections conducted in 2023 was 3,167. In 2024, 4,659. And in 2025, 4,607. An estimated 4,633 in 2026. And as far as our smoke detectors installation, 1,050 in 2023, 665 in 2024. In 2025, we had 1,279 and an estimated just shy of 1K for this remaining of this year. Department-wide total cost process for fire and EMS. In 2023, we had 57,424. In 2024, we had 57,682. 2025, we had 54,052. And in 2026, we had 56,000, estimated 56,386. And when you're looking at overtime in the millions, you're looking at, in 2023, we were approximately 6.2 million in overtime. In 2024, we were approximately 8.1 million in overtime. In 2025, we were 7.5 million in overtime cost. And in 2026, the estimation is just shy of 4 million will be in overtime. So I have a graph here that shows the Akron Fire Department illustration when it comes to overtime versus the break in the analyzing the risk factor as far as firefighter positions. So when you're looking at the bottom line, it's the annual overtime in hours. So in 2020, let's just like level set here. In 2024, we had approximately 105,000 overtime hours. In 2024, that's why that number of 8 million is high. In 2025, we had just shy of 100K overtime hours. And when you're looking at the cost for a firefighter, it's about, with pension and wages, about 125K. So you see where that break-even area is when versus overtime to hire. And the illustration below shows the overtime, firefighter overtime and the fatigue factor. You see where there's a break in the hours at the very bottom of 500 hours, you start seeing that 1.2 injury. You're 1.2 times more likely to be injured with working those amount of hours. And, you know, I'll be remiss, I want to take a minute to, you know, just like Councilman Fusco, and to address our firefighters. We have 15 firefighters out there that's actually working the line, doing the business of the business. They suit up. They are in, when people are running away from disasters and catastrophes, these are the people that are running in. And I believe 6 of you are paramedics. How many of you are active paramedics? Raise your hand. So look at that. We have, he raised his hand twice because he's at a busy station. But these are the people that will be coming to help you. These are the people, at the end of the day, we are actually trying to help with measures, working aside with the union. And I'm glad to see they are here, because at the end of the day, we are not adversaries. There may be different perspectives and different ways how to solve problems. But at the end of the day, I think we're all at the table to have that consensus and that mature look at solving problems.
Thanks, guys.
With that being said, any questions?
I do have a question. What data do you look at when, I'm looking at the numbers as far as calls processed for fire incidents? So in 2025, you know, 7,189. But you're estimating, you know, basically 40% more for fires in 2026. Like, what data do you look at to say we're going to have more fires? Because that's going to be more, you know, personnel and, you know, your scheduling and all that.
That is a great question, and they based it on like a 5-year pattern, I believe, as far as the metrics and coming up with those numbers.
Because 2025, we had a good year, a fortunate year, whatever you want to say there. But so, okay, you're looking at those 5-year look backs or whatever. Very good. Thank you. Councilman Bolden.
Thank you. Question, Chief. Looking at the budgeted overtime estimated, that's a drastic cut. 398 from 751 last year. It's a drastic cut from 624 when you go to 2020. How does that cut? I mean, how do you budget overtime that low? I mean, is it going to be just overshot when we hit a catastrophic event? I mean, I'm confused on how we budget that.
No, that's actually a great question, Councilman Bolden. So this is the approach we are taking. It's going to be data-driven, based on the reality of where we're at operationally, based on the needs, what we actually see on boots on the ground. So let me take a step back. When you're looking at the drastic cut in hours, when we are contractually, we're about 3 million just with the CBA contract within itself that's committed to overtime is about $3 million. And when you're looking at the other million that's part of what this looks like, The main thing, the biggest thing for me is when the cabinet came to me and they asked me the question, what is our risk factors in our assessment of what we're looking at? And I had to look at the reality on the ground. We are literally working these poor women and men to death in reference to the fact of the risk factor. When I look at the blood alcohol content of working past like that 17-hour operational period, they will have a blood alcohol content equivalent to 0.5. And when I'm looking at the data when it comes to injury reports, those numbers are raised up. When I'm looking at the complaints that we're getting from, in far as internal complaints from the quality assurance, those numbers have spiked since this overtime has spiked. When it comes to our accidents that we're having, the MVAs, I just had to put out additional training for all of our personnel as far as what that looks like. We basically went through how many modules of training we had, 6 or 7? 6 or 7 different additional modules. And it's not the fact that I think the fact that people are being careless, but what happens once you reach that threshold, your reflexes, your overall brain fog, that impacts your actual alertness. When it comes to clinical care, that impacts the clinical care. So my position as fire chief, what I look at, my main priority is the safety of my workforce, number 1. Number 2 is the overall city on how we actually protect the city. Number 3 is the operational strategies that we're implementing based on our data and what our trends are and what's the national best practices. And as far as the fiscal aspect of it, as far as myself, that's lower down on my totem pole at the end of the day. That's as far as council that would approve what that looks like, along with our mayor and the cabinet team and finance director. But the overall safety of my workforce, that is my number 1 mission, that they go home at the end of the day.
And I understand and appreciate it, but I just don't still, I mean, the hours of overtime, so if you don't use overtime, what happens? How do we cover that?
So it's a couple.
I mean, obviously the numbers.
So it's a couple of strategies. So let me dig a little bit deeper, get a little bit granular. So take, for instance, one of the things that we did initially when we cut the overtime as far as the number of positions, if you can get into that realm. So take for the staff an additional med unit, like our extra med unit. That's one firefighter is $1,500 to staff that unit for 24 hours. So if you need 2 paramedics on that unit, that's $3,000 a day. So we put another med unit in service, which is 6'2", that's another $3,000. You add that together, at the end of the year, that's $2 million. So now, how do we strategize and make it make sense? What about reimagining what that looks like? Why have to staff it for 24 hours? Why not staff it during peak hours? Those are discussions I've had with the union president. Those were proposals that we proposed at the collective bargaining to look at what that strategy looks like as far as when we need people in the field, why don't we actually hire them when we need them compared to just having a whole shift. So what the data tells us during peak hours of operation, when most of the emergencies exist, is 11 a.m. to 2300 hours. That's when we need the personnel. That's when we need to staff those vehicles. And that's how we can actually make those cuts based on strategy, not about, looking at just the overall budget itself, but we have to look at being smarter and reimagining what's possible based on what we have. And at the same time, I live in the environment, it's not either or for me, it's both and. How can I keep my workforce safe, and how can we give the coverage throughout the city?
That's my question. So I get it. I understand what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it. I just don't know whether this number is going to be realistic at the end of the year, and there's no way of knowing it.
And there's no way of knowing, but at the end of the day, we would say that's a goal.
It's a pretty lofty goal, but I appreciate it.
Could I provide a little bit of perspective on what that number means? So keep in mind how we got here. In 2019, our overtime was roughly $2 million pre-pandemic. Since that time, we had CARES Act funding and ARPA funding and staffing grants that covered at one point, as recently as 2024, 50 firefighters. Currently, we have 0 firefighters funded with grant staffing. So that was $70 million that we've had over the past 5 years that has gone to really, it's not all fire, so safety force staffing, call it that $70 million between ARPA and the CARES Act. So all of that helped us fund all of this additional overtime. And in addition, it helped us fund, we have 30 to 35 more firefighters working now. We were in the 350s back in 2019. Last year, we averaged 393 uniformed firefighters throughout the course of the year. So we've added 30 to 35 firefighters in the last 5 years, and the overtime has quadrupled. The average firefighter in 2019 was making $5,300. In 2024, it was over $21,000. It dropped a little bit last year to about $18,000. That is not a sustainable level with everything that is happening with our budget. So keep in mind, all of that grant funding is gone. On top of that, we just had a negative income tax year of negative 2.5% growth in our income tax. We are adjusting this staffing to the levels that we had pre-pandemic. So keep in mind, a little perspective. The average firefighter will still be making roughly $10,000 of overtime. So that's twice what they were 5 years ago when we cut this overtime from $8 million to $4 million. So I just want to provide a little perspective on what we're talking about here. We cannot sustain that level of overtime. And keep in mind, things don't stop at the end of this year. The way we are funding this now, in lieu of having all of the ARPA, CARES, staffing grants, is we are utilizing our IT4 fund balance. We're going to draw approximately $10 million of that balance this year, leaving about $13 million. We'll be drawing a similar amount next year. Keep in mind that graph I showed of what the wage increases amount to. So the wages are going to go up another, for the entire city, another $6 to $7 million next year, which means we're going to have to, we talked about this being a 2-year endeavor to right-size our budget for the revenues that we have. So I just want to provide a little perspective on how we got here and the fact that we have to approach this staffing in a methodical, a controlled way so that we don't have, an abrupt drop in staffing. If we start drawing into our general fund balance, then we're going to have to really make staffing adjustments that will be much more painful than what we're doing here in this budget.
Thank you, Steve. Councilman Fusco?
I say this with all respect, but having been here for some time, and Steve, I think you know this too, and I know you're fairly new, Chief, you're fairly new, but year after year, we sit here and we've heard from chiefs that if we get more people, we have less overtime. I'm right, you know that. And that's what we've heard time and often, over the years, I'm talking about, over the years. And we have increased the amount of personnel. We have. But then again, and it's reflected in here, the amount of overtime has increased as well. So like I said, Steve, this is what we've heard, over several years.
So I would say the dynamic has changed somewhat, especially with the fire department, where there's been so much what we call manpower overtime that is what has gotten us to these levels. As the chief said, we have $2.5 to $3 million of overtime that is it's automatically built in. It's premium pay for holidays. It's,
like I said, I'm not throwing shade or whatever. I'm just saying that, this is what we've heard, and it's the nature of the beast too, and I understand that. But it's just, like I said, the budget is the other side of the equation that we're asked to look at, and it's and the fatigue. I appreciate those comments, but
you bring a great question. So to bring more context to that question, some nuance here. So every fire department. So I did a study. We actually can pass this out to everyone here. From Los Angeles to Washington D.C., every metro department is facing these same challenges. And it's based on the actual language that's already been approved in the contract itself and some of the fringe benefits what that looks like. And so at the end of the day, regardless of the staffing we have, with the collective bargaining, we have to give people the vacation, the holiday, the Kelly Day. So that's all overtime. So it basically stifles what that looks like as far as the overall number. But at the end of the day, it's based on the model that we're using for our EMS model. Reimagining what that looks like with using the resource when it's needed in the field, that's going to be the key to actually helping what that looks like.
Understand. And some of that makes sense. I mean, it certainly does in terms of, ensuring that they do, as you spoke about, the fatigue factor. It's like they do deserve time, obviously, with their families and such, and that's important. It's important in a lot of levels, but like I said, and we've brought more people on, Mayor, and, Oregon did as well, and it's like a commitment, which is a good one. But anyway,
Absolutely, Councilman. I just want to address it, and I think this is really critically important, right? And so I think I'm glad we're having this discussion. Really appreciate our union members being here today, our firefighters. So a couple things, right? I think the first is, you're absolutely right. We've heard that, that we'll be able to, if one goes up, the other should go down. That has not been the case, right? And so the reality is, on a couple different levels, it's unsustainable, right? It's unsustainable on our workforce, right? When we think about the fatigue, it's unsustainable on the budget, right? When we look at the wages, we look at the lack of grants, it's unsustainable. At the same time, we are approaching this, we have to make sure that we deliver this service, right? This is essential service. Folks are doing some of the most difficult work in this city each and every single day. And so, there's these three things that we kind of have to square the circle. I think from our perspective, this represents, the approach that we're trying to take to make sure that we, that as we try to tackle this overtime, right, we also have to make sure that, we're providing the right service. And so this is not a single point in time. It's just the way it's going to be, and we're done, and we walk away, we pass the budget, we walk away, right? Because, that doesn't make sense. And so chief and deputy chief and really the whole department are tracking this day to day, week to week, and we are going to make adjustments as this year goes on. We want to work with the union and to see, the chief talked about some of the contract language, it absolutely makes sense to try to do some of this peak staffing overtime, right? And so if we can find agreement with the union there, I think that will be tremendously helpful. But that's not the only thing, right? Like, we are open to all ideas. Like, there's no bad idea. So we're open to all ideas in terms of how we solve this going forward, because it is not let's just tackle this one year. This is something that, we are going to have to figure this out for the coming years to come. So I think that's really important. I want to emphasize that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'd like to add, thank you.
Sure.
I'd also like to point out that we've added units since the last few years as well. When AMR left, we expanded our med unit deployment, which takes 12 personnel. We now do a REACH program, the Scout program that Chief Henderson spoke of most of those programs. So the staffing level, we try to keep as many people on the line as we can to deploy those frontline resources, but that would be one explanation as well.
Understand. I totally understand.
So, the key is, we've been looking at this in most fire departments throughout the nation. They're handling this as call come in. They're downstream. We've been having that downstream mentality. We have to get ahead of this because we are the front line of healthcare in America. Through falling through the gaps, no fault of any of our own, through the geopolitical system, through finances, through federal financing. But finding a way to get upstream to eliminate those call for services, now that holistic approach, that's going to be the key to our self-sustainability. That's the model that we are looking at developing based on the analytics and data.
Thank you. No, and that's very fair, and I would request, just a suggestion, Mr. Chair, that perhaps like in 3 or 4 months coming back, and so we can find out where it's at on the overtime stuff and how you're handling everything, and I wish you guys nothing but the best. Like I said, it's, and I understand the union position and everyone, and, these are just amazingly challenging times, and hope nothing but the best for everyone here.
If I can add one more thing, Councilman, Mr. Chair, I think, we are in the process of finalizing this staffing study, so selecting a vendor and doing this comprehensive review as requested by the EMS Advisory Board, so that, again, that will help us with the long term. That doesn't help us with the short term. But there are ideas that, again, like I said, no idea is a bad idea. Our ears are open. One of the things that Chief, if you can talk just a little bit about, we want to make sure that we're billing, right? So when you have a vehicle accident and we have a rig that's blocking, we're not billing for that right now, right? But that's a cost that we're incurring, right? So how do we not leave money on the table? How do we, we have to be as creative as possible here.
So yes, so we have entered into a service agreement with a consulting firm called Matrix Consulting. A lot of the services that we're rendering when it comes to the preventative component and when it comes to incident mitigation, we are not charging for those services, but we can legally. Take for instance MVAs on the highway. That rig that we use as a blocking rig with those utilization hours, we can bill for those things. When we actually do the extrication, when we actually have to do mitigation, use the resources, we can bill for those hours and those resources that we use. When it comes to our fire prevention, when it comes to the re-inspections, when it comes to the site review, site plans, that's a whole body of work that is not illustrated with our call for services, but we're looking at transitioning and make that a call for services. So when grant funding is available, our chances of getting those grants are way higher than anywhere in the nation, because we're reimagining and revisioning on our workforce and our deployment of resources and the services that we're rendering to our clients and our customers at no additional cost to them.
Very good. Thank you for being ahead of the curve. Okay. Did you have a question, Councilman Garrett? Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. But thank you, Chief, for all that you do and how you're innovative and come up with amazing creative ideas, whether it's the paramedics, now that you guys take on that. I'm curious to know, like we talk about our taxes and income, residency. Have we ever thought about a question in terms of firefighters being required to live within the city? Has that come up at all, or what's your thoughts there in that space?
Wow, that's a tough question. So let me take a step back throughout my career. I remember when I first got on in 1990, and residency was a big thing at that time. And with the residency being the big thing, and there was a Mayor Plisquellic, he was totally against anybody moving outside the city that worked for the city, if us older guys can remember. And in 2000, in the mid-2000s, I believe that was maybe 10 or 8 or something in that realm, the Supreme Court upheld state rights, and Ohio was one of those states that allowed municipality personnel to live outside the city. And does that impact our city? Yes, it does. So when I had my accounts analyst, he went to a better paying job. But the accounts analyst, what I was looking at fatigue hours, looking at total operational hours, hour utilization, travel hours, looking at into that realm. And when I was first looking at fatigue, when I said, okay, what about my workforce? What is my percentage of my workforce that's living in the city? So only 45% of my workforce actually live in the city of Akron. And based on the analytics, now when it comes to my fatigue study, now that commute time, that's not just a 24-hour operational period. That depends on their locale. That's way beyond that threshold. And bringing now, as far as the actual data, I don't know the exact numbers. I know Harvard and several different universities did a study on for every $1, that you was earn in the city, that's approximately 150 that the city's not getting circulated back. So does that impact? Yes. That's a tough question.
But we said that everything's on the table for consideration.
Well,
I think if I can, Chief, I mean, the reality is the Ohio Supreme Court has made this determination, and none of us can change what the Ohio Supreme Court determined, right? We cannot require residency, so, I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Chief Henderson and Lieutenant Pascu. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you do. Thanks, everybody, for coming down. Appreciate your work, EMS included. All right, next we're going to go on to our Akron Police Department with Chief Brian Harding.
As we welcome Chief Harding to the table, the budgeted numbers on the budget document for the police department begin on page 133, and they're on the goals and objectives document on page 18.
Is it 18? Is it 18 and 133?
18.
Mm-hmm. All right, welcome, Chief Brian Harding.
Great.
Akron
Well, thank
Police
you. Thank you so much, to Chairperson Lombardo, all members of council. I also want to thank Mayor Malik as well for your continued support of our public safety teams. I'm really excited to share a few key highlights and some stats that are going to highlight some of the amazing work done by our Akron Police team during 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Our officers responded to 127,524 calls for service in 2025. That's an average of 350 calls per day. That is down 1% from last year. Some other highlights that aren't necessarily in the budget documents is we had 280 use of force incidents. This is down 8% from 2024, with an incident rate of 1 in every 455 calls. Complaints were down 26%, with an incident rate of 1 in every 4,554 calls. Murders were down 8%, even though I will speak to that for a second. And even one murder is too many. As we continue to see this decrease resulting in less trauma, I think that's extremely important. We had a 3% decrease in shootings and shots fired calls last year for a total of 1,710. We did have an increase in firearm-related incidents in 2025. We classify those as murders, felonious assault, or discharge into a habitation involving a firearm. Great news again on overdose deaths. We had a 43% increase in overdose deaths last year. That's a significant trend we've seen over the last few years. I'm happy to report our 5-year homicide clearance rate is 69%. This is above the national average of 61%. Last year, we recovered 844 illegal guns and prosecuted 41 cases for federal firearm charges. We recovered more than 100 long guns again last year, but our overall gun recoveries were down 17% last year. An area we continue to see a significant increases in our request for public records around body-worn camera. We were up again last year over 10% with a total of 3,734 requests. We redacted over 5,503 hours of video, and again, over 60% of these requests were due from groups that were running online channels. As Chief Henderson mentioned, we continue our partnership with the Scout team. Happy to report last year we included that to also include Saturdays and additional evening hours, and the Scout team is a co-responder model between the police department, the fire department, and mental health clinician. Currently, we have 434 sworn officers in the police department. I want to spend a minute talking about our 2025 goals and if we accomplished them. I shared last year 9 key areas. The first was around staffing. We did accomplish that goal by hiring a class of 26 officers. We also graduated 4 fast-track recruits last year. We also were going to work on a late 2025 academy. We put the work in, but that academy class did not start until February 23rd of 2026. I'm happy to report we have 31 people in our current academy class. Next area was the staffing study. We did work on our staffing study. We have not got the results back from that yet. That should come out hopefully within the next 2 months. Retention. We saw some positive numbers with regards to retention last year. We had fewer officers resign than we've had in the past. We wanted to finalize a new union contract, which was done in November. And we also wanted to work on retention program opportunities. This has been a collaborative effort between ourselves, our HR department, our union, and our officers to look for additional areas to increase retention. They're still starting with that work now. We don't have the finalized plan for that, but some areas they've highlighted is around our FTO process. Additional temp assignments for our officers would be extremely important for them. Last year, we had 11 officer resignations. This was 7 less than we had in 2024. A goal was around our facility to determine a long-term solution for the police department. As the mayor mentioned, at the end of last year, we did decide to a renovation and remodel of the Stubbs Justice Center. There'll be several phases of that that are also covered on our goal for 2026. Community engagement, continue outreach through park and walk and talks. Our goal was to increase those by 10% across all units to build relationships and understanding of community issues. I'm happy to say we accomplished that. In fact, we succeeded with our numbers. We increased by over 19%. We conducted over 6,500 park and walk and talks last year, primarily by our patrol division. Increased participation in community events. Our goal was 5%. Again, happy to report that we more than accomplished that, with participation increasing across over 14%. Last year, we conducted or participated in 661 events in 2025. Another goal was to begin a Chiefs newsletter to the community every quarter. We did accomplish that goal. Our first one went out in the fourth quarter of 2025. It's available on our Facebook page. Our first one is also went out in 2026. Another goal was to continue with the Citizens Police Academy and have a spring and fall academy class. We accomplished that goal. We did have a spring and fall academy class. Last year, we're going to run that again this year. Another goal was around violent crime reduction. To continue to have a positive effect on the reduction of crime, it will take the entire community. We will continue to foster relationships partner with people to serve, to focus on deterring, and if needed, to investigate violent crime. I know that Tony Ingram earlier talked about some of the great initiatives the mayor's been spearheading around violence prevention work, so I won't cover all of those. But he did mention the peace circles, and those were on mine to talk about as well. Those were extremely impactful for not only our officers who participated, but the community members who participated as well. We begun to develop an officer student mentoring program in conjunction with the Akron Public Schools that will continue to roll out this year. Continue to pass out gun locks at ward meetings. We passed out over 100 gun locks again last year. Number 7 on our goals for this year, for 2025, were to update our rules and regulations and several policies. We did completely update our rules and regulations, and we rolled out 15 key procedures with updates last year. As I've mentioned before, I'll mention again, all of our procedures and this information is also available on our website. We have not only our public website has our rules and regulations, our policies and procedures, but also additional office SOPs. In partnership with HR, we will develop an accreditation coordinator position. HR was able to develop that position. We currently have that in the process for approval for this year. I think it's important to note, though, that we are currently certified in 11 of the 14 standards required by the state. We have an additional one pending, and we need to update our E-Trace and NIBIN policy, which we're working on now, and that will bring us up to the current collaboration initiatives. There is a newer program that has 31 different standards, and this person that we're going to hire will be the key in leading us in the certification in each of those 31 areas. Leadership development, a goal was to review and update our supervisory training options and build out a professional development track to support supervisors and officers. This was partially accomplished, not completely accomplished in 2025. We built out the supervisors in service, and we've been conducting that for every supervisor in the police department. It started in February, and we will be done with that by the end of March. We're still in the process of working on a professional development track for our officers as well. Comprehensive call response. A goal was to review and develop solutions for calls involving animals, collaborative review with the community regarding all types of calls and community expectations. This is another area that's only partially complete. Also was around the scout team response. We've continued to increase the scout team. Part of our staffing study will look at our calls for service and look for any areas we may be able to look for more innovative approaches that way. In your documents are the 2026 goals. I've listed as 5 key areas, and those were maintain staffing. We do have a class, as I mentioned, of 31 recruits in the academy now. We do have an open positions now for both laterals and for new cadets. So again, I'll ask, like we always do, for any partnership, any events you think we should be at to help with that, please let us know. We're also going to this year finalize our retention work group recommendations with our HR partners. Facilities, this year we're going to begin to plan the remodel of the current police headquarters. Elevators should be sent out for 2026, as well as the building riser, which controls the heating and air conditioning and the temperature in the building. We also want to begin to finalize the phased model approach in 2026 for what different phases will be when we talk about a remodel. Goals for 2026 is around community engagement and prevention, to continue to increase our park and walks this year by 5%, increase our participation in community events by 5%, continue 2 Citizens Police Academies in the spring or fall. Current posting is out again on our Facebook page. We will have a Citizens Academy starting in April. So if you know anybody that would be interested, I'd encourage them to apply for that. That's always a really exciting program for us and the members that attend. Maintain a reverse ride-along program. You may have heard me talk about that last year. That was the ability where we get community partnerships and take our new recruits out into the community to get to learn more about Akron. That was really well received last year. We're talking about with the Project Ujima to grow that initiative this year as well with our current academy class. Violent crime reduction, continue to pass out gun locks. Gun violence outreach, we're looking to have a spring call-in program, which will bring in some key people involved in violent crime, look at giving them resources in partnership with Mr. Ingram and his office through the leadership of the mayor. We're going to maintain our Crime Gun Intelligence Center partnership and coordinate 10 data-driven hotspot details with our local, state, and federal partners, focused on key areas and key individuals most involved in violent crime. And number 5 is accreditation. That's to maintain our Ohio collaborative certifications, hire our accreditation coordinator position to allow us to opt into the new Ohio collaboration accelerated program. At this point, I'd really like to take a moment. I really want to thank you for your continued support with our recruiting efforts. As we work on recruiting from Akron, our current academy class is over 50% of our officers are from Akron. More information can be found on our website at akroncops.org, where you can click our apply button. You can also get any more information, a lot of what I shared here today. Or you can go to joinakronpolice.com, and that's another site we have that will help spearhead the applications. I'll also be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank our Akron Police Department officers and professional staff for their work each day to serve and protect our community. I'm really blessed to work with such a talented team. I also want to thank each of you and all of our community partners and the mayor for all you do for our community. Public safety takes all of us working together, and it's exciting when we see that happen. At this point, I'd be glad to answer any questions specifically around the budget or anything we discussed.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your leadership, Chief Harding. A couple questions, and I tried to write as fast as I could. As far as that redaction, and you said it was like 60% of maybe the time or however it was, but my question is going to end up being, how can we get our arms around that? Because it's those groups that want to post on YouTube, I guess. Mm-hmm. So how can we get our arms around it to say, that request, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars?
So we've been working with the law department, with the budget team for a process to do that and look at additional policies. Many of the surrounding jurisdictions are currently charging. I was able to speak with the chief in one jurisdiction and said when they send out their quotes for what that would be, they're seeing only about 33% of the people actually go through with it. So they've seen a profound impact. I was able to look at some information from Columbus. I know that they rolled out that in 2025. So we're still trying to finalize what that looks like, how we make sure that that doesn't stop with transparency, right? We're going to put out our key stuff from our ordinance, but also that we try to find a carve out for people that are impacted by that crime, that they're involved with it, that we can find a way to work on that. But hopefully we'll have something to you soon on that as well. But you're right, it's a significant issue. Yeah. We have 3 full-time people. We also spent over $25,000 in overtime alone last year. And we're still significantly behind in keeping up with the public records requests.
My goodness. And then the other question was regarding animal calls.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying about that?
So we're still continuing to look at what best practices are there. Some partnerships that I know that we're not quite done with as far as what that may look like when our officers have to respond to animal calls after hours and there's no warden.
Right, okay, gotcha. Right here, Councilwoman Amobian.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I know you talked a lot about training and the need to, especially supervisory staff, but I see the projection for your budget in 2026, a reduction in how much you plan to spend.
I'm sorry, I could barely hear. Could you say it one more time?
On your budget, training, education, and travel, there's a significant reduction for 2026?
So a lot of that has been moved out of the general fund out to some of the specialty funds that the police department has. So we really have not decreased training. In addition, there are some funds set aside that are kind of unallocated, but intended for the implementation of the results of the perf report. So there's $500,000 allocated for that, and some of that will be training.
Okay. Just want to make sure that the training budget is.
Yep, real quick on that, the state requires 24 hours of continuing education training. We continue to exceed that. We'll have, again, a 40-hour in-service for all officers. That's the floor for training. If you have a TASER or others, you get additional training as well as that, and a lot of our officers and then will go to additional specialty training, and that doesn't count in training we may do in roll call and additional training, but we continue to exceed the state minimum.
Sure, thank you. I just want to make sure that, because I know you talked a lot about it.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just looking at page 137 for the Akron Safety Center Fund. This 2.1 million for 2026, is that paired with the 2 or so million in general obligation debt that we're taking out from the capital budget, or is this overlapping somehow?
This is specifically for, if you look at the capital budget, there is an ASC funding source. So this is intended to cash fund the HVAC riser pipe in the subs building as well as the elevator replacement. The $2 million in the general fund or in GO is the design for the stub center.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then if I had one more, if that's okay, and maybe it might be an education afterwards, but.
Sorry, Councilperson, if I can just add to what the finance director said. So, if we think about doing this in several phases, right? Traditionally, design for a phase might cost about 10% of what that phase. So if we think that, the first phase of the renovation would be $20 million, that's about $2 million that we allocated for the design on the phase one. So I just want to be clear about what that represents.
Thank you. I'd like to learn more eventually at IT for money, but I just wanted to note there's been a flux on page 135. I'm just looking at the flux between 2024, 2025, and 2026. Specifically in the interfund expenses, I'd like to know a little bit more about that at some point. I just wanted to highlight that.
Just in its simplest terms, that is how we are keeping our staffing levels at the levels that they're at. So we have had to use in recent years more and more of that IT4 money. We've always used a little bit for staffing. It used to be roughly $4 million of all of it, $2 million each for police and fire. That has been increasing now to where automatically we set aside $3.6 million each, and then the balance that exists in the IT4 fund is really going to fund additional staffing within the general fund. So that's what you're seeing there in terms of those numbers being more than they have been in years past.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, sir. 15 cuts, 15 and a half, what does that represent? Budget, from 25, budgeted employees, 485, 2026, 470.
Correct. So that reflects the level of retirements that we're expecting, along with, so we did hire a class of, it was actually budgeted at 34 to be hired. It was just recently hired, I believe. I don't know when they came on, but very
February,
recently.
the end of February, we have 30.
That also includes a class of 25 at the end of the year. So, just based on the size of class that they're able to accommodate, so we are taking on 2 classes this year, but we're expecting a number of retirements this year as well. So, I worked with Chief McCosey. We kind of looked at the estimated retirements and some officers that every year we do have some that just separate, not retire, but separate. So based on the averages of those amounts, we came up with an average number of 455 officers.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then I noticed that we did the same, I assume, in the fire side.
Fire's the same way, yeah. So it's an average. Basically, now we're budgeting an average of, timing the hires, by month, and then timing, and again, we don't know for sure, but we're estimating the separations to come up with an average number for the year.
And on that note, we have 100 people in the police department that are currently eligible to retire, just by years of service time.
100?
In excess of 100, yes.
Damn. And I just, real briefly, Chair, thank you, because you always give us goals that are quantifiable. You always tell us 5% this, or, 100 more of that, or this and that. And they're very quantifiable, and we can measure those. And it's the way it kind of should be, and I hope the rest of our folks can do some of that.
One other thing I do want to mention about staffing is I think the number that you were looking at was the general fund number on page 134.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things we are doing this year is 7 of those are just going to be charged to the Child Safety Fund. So we are looking to re-implement the school zone camera program in the fall. And so typically we charge 8 officers to that fund. We've added an additional 7, that will be covered with the revenues we anticipate from starting that program up in the fall.
That's wonderful. And I would love to, not at this time, but the animal piece, because it kind of makes sense to me, to be honest, to, have maybe more animal control folks than, and have, to free up the police in terms of the cost and timing, et cetera. And I think that's where you're going forward. But that's for another time, perhaps, but something to keep in our mind in terms of, looking at that.
Yeah, have the police
Closer.
answer police calls.
Yeah.
Warden answer the dog.
Thank you.
Very good. One more question. Yep.
One more, so sorry. Page 138, the equitable sharing federal forfeitures. I see a pretty dramatic bump up of about, maybe 900, 800K, particularly under the service contract section. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Certainly. So we moved a number of items from IT4 to both this fund. So we moved the body-worn camera contract that was $453,000 that was previously budgeted in IT4. It was moved here. And again, this is to free up balance in IT4 to cover staffing in the general fund. The other big piece that is here is what I just mentioned about 5 minutes ago, is there is a placeholder of $500,000 for the cost of implementing the results of the perf report. So that may be equipment, it may be training, it could be a number of things. But that is what makes up that number.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Chief, again, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for everything the Akron Police does for the citizens of Akron.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Okay. And you too, Deputy Chief McCosey, sorry. Encompasses all workforce there. All right, well, we are getting close to the end. Well, we are now ready for the Citizens Police Oversight Board. The most patient man is stepping to the mic, the most patient man in this chambers right now, Mr. Kemp Boyd.
So as Chair Boyd approaches the table here, One kind of housekeeping thing I just want to bring attention to, and thank you for Councilman Fusco for bringing it up. One of the things we're actively trying to show in the goals and objectives document this year is not only the 2025 and prior year historical information, but estimated service levels across the board for 2026. We really want to show and tie back what the service levels mean to this operating budget. And with that, we have Chair Boyd here on behalf of the board. We have, I believe we had Auditor Fennell online, but there he is.
Oh, okay.
And then for their budgetary numbers, it begins on 172. In the goals and objectives document, since this is a board that is not part of the city administration, we have a generic goal as to what the overarching goal of the department is. And with that, we encourage both Mr. Fennell and Mr. Boyd to tell the stories that they want to tell.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Chief, or not Chief, Coach.
Thank you so much.
And Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee members. I am humbled and honored to serve as Chair of the Akron Citizens Oversight Board. The work of the Akron Citizens Oversight Board is not simply procedural, but it's relational. It exists at the intersection of community voice and public service. Our responsibility is to ensure that oversight is conducted with integrity, fairness, and a deep respect for both its citizens and law enforcement professionals who serve our city each day. Over the past year, the board has worked diligently to review all citizens' complaint into use of force thoroughly and impartially. The Office of the Independent Auditor has reviewed 310 cases on this year, concurring with 90.7%. To strengthen transparency and oversight and processes, to engage residents through community conversations and listening sessions. We have done this in partnership with Akron Police Department as well as the faith community and other sectors of our community to provide recommendations aimed at improving policies and practices and to uphold the standards outlined in the city charter and governing ordinances. As stated before, there is a budget that we have presented. I believe that Mr. Fennell presented the slides. You may or may not have them, but if you don't, we will definitely get them to you after. The budget that we passed as a board is about $838,000. It is about $210,000 more than I know what the city had recommended. We will go through that at this time, and I will start with our independent police auditor, Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to try to share my screen real quick as I pull up our slides. Let me know when you can see them. You can see them now?
Yes.
Did we get
Okay,
these?
thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Did we get these in an email?
I know Mr. Fennell sent them to Sarah. I believe he sent them in an email.
Can you send it out? Okay.
Yes, I will.
It's
The
included
emails-
in your Agenda to Go app.
Okay.
It's also included in the agenda portal if you're using the public facing.
Yeah, it's in the agenda to go. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
We're following.
So, okay, thank you. So, the question, what is civilian oversight and why does it matter? We do and we do not do many things. And one of the things that we do independently are reviews. We review the citizen complaints, review uses of force incidents for fairness, completeness, and compliance with law and policy. We evaluate the quality of APD investigations, not just their conclusions. We identify systemic issues, including policy gaps, training needs, and supervisory deficiencies. We issue findings and recommendations to the mayor and city council to promote accountability and reform. We provide public transparency and civilian governance through open meetings and reporting. Now, what we don't do is we do not replace APD's role in conducting internal investigations. We do not directly discipline officers or impose penalties. We do not direct day-to-day police operations or tactical decisions. We do not determine criminal liability. And why does this matter? It's because civilian oversight is designed to provide independent review and public accountability, not to supplant management or disciplinary authority. By maintaining this separation, the charter ensures that oversight remains objective, credible, and focused on constitutional policing and systemic improvement while preserving established roles under law and collective bargaining agreements. So for our 2025 activity, we, like I said, we conduct independent review of numerous use of force incidents. Our findings reported to the mayor and the council and the public, and we make recommendations for policy and training. And lastly, we focus on constitutional standards and best practices. As Chairman Boyd mentioned, we did 310 cases of reviews last year. And in those were both use of force and citizen complaints. We concurred with over 90%, like 90.7% of those instances. And we had recommendations in 6.2% of those. So an additional 6.2, which left us with about 3.3% of the overall 310, roughly 9 to 10 that we did not concur with and issued recommendations for change to the police department. Beyond legal sufficiency, we examine risk factors and systemic indicators that affect both officer safety and community outcomes. And primarily, we're looking at proportionality and necessity, whether the type and level of force used were proportionate to the actual threat and resistance encountered, and whether less intrusive alternatives were reasonably available. And all of this is consistent with Department of Justice use of force principles. We looked at de-escalation and whether the officers employed time, distance, communication, and tactical repositioning where feasible to reduce the need for force. And that's also consistent with national guidance emphasizing the sanctity of life and the operational value of slowing encounters when safe to do so. We also looked at officer-created jeopardy, whether the tactics or decision-making unnecessarily escalated the encounter or increased the likelihood of force, including rushed engagement, avoidable loss of distance, and poor coordination. Looked at restraint safety and medical response. So whether the restraint methods, monitoring, and post-force medical care reflected duty of care considerations and evolving best practices aimed at preventing positional asphyxia and medical distress. We looked at supervisory review integrity, whether supervisors conducted meaningful evidence-based reviews that reconciled the evidence, articulated legal and policy justification, and identified lessons learned consistent with national accountability and oversight standards. And these factors allowed us to establish between cases in which force may legally be justified, yet still reveal policy, training, and supervisory gaps requiring corrective action. And by using these standardized dispositions and trend reporting, we were able to ensure that civilian oversight is not only independent, but measurable and actionable, supporting accountability for individual outcomes when warranted, and driving continuous improvement through transparent, trackable reform recommendations. And as I said before, we do not reinvestigate incidents. We are an independent audit of APD's investigative and decision-making process. And each review typically includes an examination of investigative reports and supervisory findings, review of body-worn camera footage and other available evidence, photographic evidence, and assessment of compliance with APD policy and constitutional standards, an evaluation of the thoroughness, consistency, and objectivity of the investigation by APD. And this methodology is consistent with the U.S. Department of Justice guidance, emphasizing that use of force reviews should assess not only outcomes, but the quality of supervision, documentation, and policy application. Our approach also aligns with national best practice frameworks that stress accountability systems, evidence-based review, and feedback loops between investigations, training, and policy development. So some of the key oversight themes that we discovered in 2025 include the importance of de-escalation and proportional use of force, protection of First and Fourth Amendment rights, policy and training improvements based on national best practices, and clear communication during police encounters. As you can see, some of the recommendation themes, again, use of force proportionality, juvenile encounters, the RAP system and restraint safety, conducted electrical weapons, otherwise known as tasers, and pursuits, both vehicle pursuits and foot pursuits, and supervisory accountability. We also had documentation and body-worn camera compliance, systemic issues versus individual issues. And across the board, we looked at mental health crisis response and behavioral health encounters. And we found that theme was available and present throughout many different types of situations. And so, I call that the cross-cutting theme because it went all across the board. All right. So at this point, I'm going to have Mr. Kemp Boyd, our chairman, speak to this matter as it refers to the board members.
So as you look at our funding and our budget and the increase, the one thing that we realized as a board, being now going into our third year, is that obviously we have lost board members, but also we've had to onboard board members in 2025, which are 3 currently. And one of the things that we need to increase, we believe, is the stipend of our board members. Currently, we get $100 per month. We would like to see that increase to $500 per meeting per month, simply because it has to be a sustainability to our board. We are losing at least 1 to 2 board members per year. So, I mean, we're now with the 4 original board members that we started with when we first came on initially. And so I think to get the quality of people that we want to be a part of this board, we feel like we're going to have to up the stipend because it is more work than just coming to meetings. There's committee meetings. There's also meetings that happen outside the board meetings that we have, but also the committee meetings. And that has been a good function for us because, as you know, the chief indicated before, we have been collaborating with them a little bit more on meeting with them each and every month. Sometimes we meet 2 to 3 times a month to discuss some of the pivotal challenges and issues. And now we're also meeting with Mr. Craig Morgan as he is now the new public safety director. So the expense of getting our board, if you will, up to speed as far as what it takes to actually be a successful board, but also one that is around long after I'm gone. I know that my term is over in 2027, and in order we believe, for the sustainability of the board, we have to increase the stipend that we are currently getting from just $100 a meeting, and it's $100 per month, to now upping it to $5. And if any of you remember, when we first started, we were meeting every week per month. So we were already getting $400 per month as we were starting, because we was meeting every week because we felt like we needed to at that time, because we were all just kind of, if you will, building this board as we were flying it, if you will. And so that's one of the big new expenses right now to our board. But also there's going to be some that Mr. Fennell is going to go through as far as some one-time costs. And some of these costs we presented last year that we wasn't able to get in for last year due to some administrative challenges that we were facing as we continue to do that. So at this time, I want to stop if there's any question before we continue with Mr. Fennell and some of his operational expenses.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just jump in really quick. if you don't mind. The one thing I just wanted to note is that the stipend piece is not reflected in the budget that you have in front of you. As we've been working through this, there was a discrepancy there. But I want to note, especially given the independence of the board, and I think the importance of the point that the chair recognized about, making sure that we're retaining members and having members who are able to do this work, and it is an awful lot of work that they've shouldered, that we are supportive of that change and that increase. And in conversation with council in the coming weeks, are willing to amend what's in front of you to reflect that request as well. So I just want to be clear where we are for the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Mobian?
Just curious, the service contract piece, what does that reflect?
Mr. Fennell?
Well, yes, I'm going to speak to that in just a moment. But what it reflects is what we call special project funding. And one of the primary pieces of that is what we had in our last year's budget, but we like Mr. Boyd stated, there were some administrative issues. We were not able to move on that, but it is bringing on external subject matter experts, SMEs, to assist my office as we enter into a phase in this process where we will be reviewing officer-involved shootings. The first being the Jalen Walker shooting, but since I've been the independent police auditor, there have been, unfortunately, several other shootings that have occurred since I began in 2024. And many of those incidents have cycled through their investigative process, the investigative process that we have through BCI, and then through the grand jury, and then through APD's internal investigation. So now they're starting to arrive into my office, and I'm starting to get the evidence from those incidents. And so by bringing on subject matter experts to assist in these, the first priority is we don't want to prevent operational backlog. I mean, we don't want operational backlogs. We want to prevent that. When I first started, there were several use of force incidents, a couple hundred that were backlogged. We are now able to, we're current. So we are looking at current use of force incidents that have occurred over the last month or so, and we're able to respond to those and review those. And I don't want us to get backed up again when we have to dive into the officer-involved shooting incidents, because those are very labor intensive. They're very important, and you have to get it right. So being able to bring in for special services contract agreements, subject matter experts as needed is going to be beneficial. It's also using that format will again bring in independence and objectivity, because these individuals don't have a relationship with the city of Akron, and they have years of experience examining officer-involved shooting incidents. So I will supervise and manage and be a part of those reviews, but I need to make sure that my deputy is free to continue to do the day-to-day stuff that we need to do so that we do not get backlogged.
Okay. And the second question I have is the training, education, and travel that has to do with onboarding your new members of the board.
Yes, Councilwoman, it has to do with onboarding new board members, which we're going to have to onboard potentially 2 more new board members at some point this year. But also it gives our board and our police auditor and independent auditor an opportunity to go to NACOL trainings as well, and other needed trainings that they're going to need as they continue to grow as experts in their field.
And everything else looks to be about the same, with the exception of the salary adjustment. And I see a reduction in the benefits.
Yes, there is a reduction in the benefits because the former police auditor was receiving unemployment benefits. And that was in our budget for last year. So those benefits, to my understanding, have ceased. They're not, so that has been taken out. But that was, there's no reduction in like fringe benefits for staff. That was just an additional amount that was encompassed within the benefits section there.
Can you elaborate, Mr.?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Could you elaborate on what he just said? The former auditors, what was going on? He was still included?
There were some.
I think there were some residual unemployment
Yes.
costs that were very minor, but
That
they
just-
were included in
That
there.
rolled
yeah.
off. The salaries and benefits are proportionate to everywhere else in the city. If you have a full-time employee, they get the benefits that are entitled.
So we're looking at pretty much two areas of major, substantial increase.
Well, actually, no.
There's a third one that's not included, the mayor indicated. The increase for the stipend for the board member.
Correct. So that the numbers that you are seeing in your documents do not reflect that. Compensation is for board members is set by city council. So in our version of what is here, that has not been altered. It's $100 per meeting.
So we're talking about $6,000 per board member is what is being requested?
Yes.
And you have how many, is it 9?
9.
9. Wow. So we're talking about 50.
It comes to
500.
60,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I gotta be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Going from 100 to 500, isn't that like a 400% increase? And I don't know what city employee ever got a 400% increase. I mean, I get the retention part of it. You gotta retain them, but that's a pretty big jump. But that's another conversation for another day, I guess.
Sounds like the administration has already agreed to it.
Did the well, I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm just saying that the administration has already agreed to it. So it sounds like there's some room to work it in the budget. I don't know about you, but I know that when this board started, I often asked them, what are you getting? Because as the chair indicated, they were meeting day and night almost with all kinds of meetings to set up. And I recognize when I go to community meetings where they are present, a lot of them, $6,000 is a drop in the bucket, but that's my impression.
Yep. Councilman Fusco? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think I also just stepping back the 6.2 for recommendations. That's a very striking number. I look forward to talking more about that. But the 90% concur rate is also very interesting. Thank you for your work. And also I've sat through many of your board meetings over the last 3.5 or how many years. A lot of them go on multiple hours, and I know the amount of work that happens in the background with each one of you. So I do want to highlight they are truly working so much. And a lot of our commissions are just putting in hours upon hours upon hours of work for really mostly volunteerism. So I do want to highlight, I definitely, I'm in support of that. I've seen it firsthand, the effects of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Fusco?
No, I understand the logic behind increasing, but as is usual and typical that, one goes, they all go. So how many commissions do we have
9.
that pay?
I'm just off the top of my head, 6,
6,
something like that.
Just curious.
We have planning,
that's
zoning.
usually what happens. But I'm not advocating for or against right now until I learn a little bit more. So just for the record, whatever that means. So I want to make sure I'm clear in terms of last year's budget was 589, right?
That is correct.
Pursuant to the charter, we cannot go below that ever again, correct?
Unless there's a proportional decrease in the rest of the city. So if there's, if there were to be a recession or something and everyone was cutting back, then the board would be no different than other departments.
Just want to make sure, that's right. I want to make sure very clear.
Good point.
That we're all clear on that. On that piece right there, but we budgeted 589, spent 418, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
And now we're asking for 628, which includes the service contracts for 160. How is that going to be handled, Mr. Fennell, the service contracts?
Well,
in terms of hiring.
Okay. There's a couple, because I wasn't finished when we started asking
I'm
the
sorry.
questions. So no. You had questions, so we paused for that. But there's a couple things. One, we last year, go here. Okay, last year you awarded us monies to get our case management and database system, and those funds were actually parked in Mr. Fricker's department, in the finance department, so as not to, since that was a one-time expense, so as not to hit that that charter language with our budget. The vendor, we could never get an agreement with the vendor. We are close to getting an agreement with another vendor now, but those monies were not spent last year. So in our 838,000, that 120 is included. However, it's with the understanding that that would be moved to again to the finance department to be a set aside, and then once we have the agreement, then the bills will be paid through that process. So in actuality, that I included everything in our budget with that understanding, knowing that it'll be moved. But I wanted you guys to have a clear picture of the total expenditure that would be, should you approve this, going towards CPOB and the Office of Independent Police Auditor. So we're actually looking at, let me show it here. Actually looking at 718,364.
Unless it's on there, sliding down. I got you. Sorry.
Yes.
Still can't see it.
Yeah, it's hard to make that into a slide.
I see.
But if you'll look on this slide, you'll see there's 4 areas that are highlighted, 3 in yellow, 1 in green. The 1 in green is the 120,000. So, and then at the bottom, you'll see the grand total in the pale yellow, and then in the blue is the total minus the 120. So now we discussed the top portion, which includes the stipend, and this small portion right here on line item 72,000 through 72,400 dues and memberships is just slight increase because of the increase in membership dues for the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. So it's just a $500 increase from what you probably have in front of you in your packet. So now you get to the special projects, and the special projects, 80,000 of that is what I'm proposing and requesting to be allocated for the officer involved shootings, because we're looking to probably do 3 to 4. I believe we'll get all the evidence that we need to begin our review for 2026. So that's 3 to 4. And the remaining, because I have 195,000 here, the remaining 115,000 goes to our data services, our data analysts. Part of that is to continue and renew our contract with them. But then the other part is for myself and my staff to be trained by the data analysts to operate and maintain the dashboard that they are creating. And once we can maintain that, then we won't need to use the data analysts anymore. So the dashboard would be integrated with the case management and database system so that we can do the internal maintenance of it and input the information and analyze the data ourselves. So that's what that number represents. So it's not 160,000, it's actually 195, but that includes the training, on-site training that we would need, and that would require, they anticipate about a week on-site to actually put us into that system and make sure that we know how to operate it confidently before they turn it over to us.
That wasn't my question.
Okay.
That didn't answer.
So does that
Go
answer?
ahead, Councilman Fusco.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just curious about, and there's got to be a limited amount of people that are, I just want to make sure we're in bounds whenever we hire these folks, how we do it. And I'm sure, you know, we are, and I assume you're very much aware of this, that we are very restricted in terms of the way we handle hiring subject matter experts. Our law department weighs in and we make sure we're in bounds and so on and so forth.
Correct.
That's all I was asking about was, like I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
I haven't decided on this other piece, but and there's got to be a limited amount of those folks, and I know our law department has ways that they vet and they do things and that's still in bounds. I don't know how we're doing it here. That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
Well, I had those conversations on last year with both law department and purchasing
Okay.
on what were the rules
Good. Yes.
and the city process.
Good. Yeah, just to make sure we're in bounds. That's
Yes.
Yeah,
I guess.
there is an
Okay.
existing contract for the
Okay.
data analyst.
Oh, okay, good, good. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Fennell has done the due diligence, and we are really appreciative of the law department and all that are involved. It was just a kind of a slow process for us to get there. Councilman Fusco.
Mr. Fennell, are you finished? I know I'm watching
Yes.
the slide
I'm
deck.
sorry.
I didn't want to cut you off if you've got more to go, but at this time, we're ready for questions. Is any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we've covered everything, but
Okay.
yes, I'd rather answer your
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you for your time.
I've asked all my questions.
You asked all your questions. Okay. All right. Well, there's no other questions. Thank you for your time. Coach?
Yep,
And Mr.
appreciate
Fennell.
you all listening
All
to
right.
us and hearing us out. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you for
And
the work you're doing.
Thank you.
We
Appreciate
are
your support, everyone.
done with, Mr. Wilson?
Just an overarching question, if I could ask. I know we've been through long meetings. This is something that I've brought up year over year. I've had some pretty robust conversations with the clerk and the law department about it. But Section 86 of the charter, annual budget, under D, subsection D, specifically stipulates that we have to hold a public hearing regarding our budgets. And I know that we brand these meetings as public hearings, but I know in the past, last couple of years, I know some citizens who have requested to speak and haven't been able to. Are we able to have some more public participation and really meet the spirit of that charter provision?
I guess I would say that, we do consider this a public hearing. In addition, for the past 2 years, including this year, and I believe it's on March 24th, we are doing a town hall, similar to what we did last year, that invites anyone from the public to come, listen to the presentation, participate in group discussions on a variety of topics surrounding the budget. So I believe that is a public forum that relates 100% to the budget that anyone from the public can come to.
My understanding, if I may, just real quick, is that the stipulation is under council's purview to go through and hold the hearing. And those hearings, I think that's under the administration. So this is kind of a question for council and us. But, if people are being rejected and not able to participate, that would negate the idea and definition by many, who might define a public hearing. So just wanted to bring it up.
I mean, I can tell you that the administration took the time coming to Ward 2 last couple years, and there was 2 people one year and 1 person the next year.
Yeah,
So,
this is just, it's in the charter, it's clearly stated, there's specific.
Well, I think they're
definitions around
offering
public
to
hearings.
have a public hearing, but, nobody is showing up, so. I mean, they could listen online and they could come here, so. Anyhow.
If I could, Mr.
Sure.
Chair, the previous director of law did weigh in on that and did explain having these public discussions of the budget did meet the requirement of the charter.
Thank you, Sarah. Very good.
Phil?
Yes, any comments? Wrap it up, Jan.
Okay, I'll wrap it up. I was just going to comment that they were at my Ward 4 meeting, and it went really well, and then they will be on what is it, Yours, Mine, and Ours community group on April the 9th, I believe.
It is April
Talking about
9th.
Yeah, and they have a pretty big turnout there most times. All
Very
right,
good.
thank you.
Well, we
Thank you
are
very
done.
much.
Ms. Law, if I
Yeah,
could just say
sure.
one more thing, if, you know, we are going to be down another board member, and so if there's anyone that you can recommend, please, please, please recommend them. We don't have an influx of applicants or a bench for our board, and so this is why we're talking about an increase, not from a standpoint of nobody's going to get rich off of this, but this has to be a sustainable board. It has to be.
You know, we're trying to look at the representation of the ward as well.
Yes. So we're already down one. I think we're probably going to be down, and it's going to be announced tomorrow, we're going to be down to 7. And
We
so,
need to let the president know what ward.
yeah, I left her a message today.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
We do have one that's currently advertised for the opening that we were aware of. That application is available on City Council's website. The deadline for that is Friday at noon.
Okay. Well, very good. We are done with 1 out of 3 days here, and tomorrow we'll meet again at 3 o'clock. So as of now, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.